This is
he gonna lose?
This is a lot of damage.
Oh, nobody gets knocked out. Wow, what a beautiful 4B by Mango. He does not do it right away. He waits.
No,
goes for the back air, not the down air.
Again,
what's happening?
Instead of a down air. That could have been the set.
This is big.
He's so far away. And that's it. Down there every day of the week.
Honestly, Levin played so well. These two players took each other to their limit and beyond.
All right, welcome back to the IMNerd Podcast, guys. We're here for episode 12, and we're going to be talking about Super Smash Bros. I am Freeway, and I'm here with my co-host Kenny. And today we have a special guest. You can introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Nick Stango. My gamer tag is Stango, as in my last name. I am a professional Super Smash Bros. Player. I mainly mained the GameCube edition of Super Smash Bros. Melee. I've been active in the Smash Bros. Scene since about 2013, so almost a full decade at this point now.
Nice. So real quick, before we go too far, how about we all say who we are? So I'll start off. I am Marth.
You just took his.
Okay. Well, I guess I just leave now because you just took who I was. That's fine.
All right, hold on.
That.
You know what? It's a new age. It's a new era. I'm Sephiroth because apparently fucking Sephiroth is in Smash Bros. Now, and that's who I main anyway in Ultimate now. So like, fuck it. I'm just Sephiroth. Even though this is not the Final Fantasy episode, I'm Sephiroth. I'm fucking Sephiroth.
I was gonna say, look, I got another new meta because I'm Falco. Falco's my main. I know I usually try to go to joke character, but like, I don't know, fuck y'all. Falco's the shit. Falco's my main. He always has been.
He's saying he's not picking a joke character, but once Falco's off stage, that's a different story.
I mean, yeah, Falco. We're gonna get into that. But I was gonna say, like, I'm Falco, like the red color or something, and I was gonna say, see, you can still pick Marth and just pick your color as well.
Bro,
yeah. So for me, Marth is my main that I've played pretty much traditionally through my whole career in Melee. The funny thing about it is 0 Fire Emblem games I've ever played in my life.
0.
Ever.
Same.
Yes.
I
am what you would call a tier whore. I don't have any personal allegiance to this character whatsoever. Marth is just broken in Melee, and he's just very good. If you were to ask me like the character I resonate the most with, I like Meta Knight a lot because I like the Kirby series. Meta Knight's like one of my favorite Nintendo characters.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So how did you get into Smash Bros? We're going to do this for everyone, but let's start off with you, Stango, since you're our guest. How did you even start? Like
before that, I wanted to say with the him with Marth. In addition to you saying you're a T-Hero and everything, he's also just a character that you have a ton of fun playing. Like even if if there was another absolute top tier character, same tier as Marth, but he was more fun or more interesting to you, you would probably play that one. Like you play Marth because he's super high tier and he's the one that you have a lot of fun playing. Like his flow, his style. Yeah,
with Marth, I enjoy playing him a lot. A lot of his like minor intricacies, which we can get into later, are a big thing of why I enjoy the character. But I also play other top tiers in Melee, like Fox, Falco, and everything like that, just because they're all pretty enjoyable when like you can pilot them correctly and everything like that.
Right. Yeah, we'll jump right back on that. But now to my rudely interrupted partner here, Frazier's question.
So you were asking how I got into Smash.
How did you get into Smash?
So I got into Smash very, very early when I was very young with actually reversed. That guy up there.
Yeah.
As he loves to always say every time I join the stream chat, my cousin Kenny is not as good at me at Smash, but he showed me Smash. I was pretty much living with my cousin almost all my life. He's like pretty much my brother.
So yeah,
we used to play a lot of video.
Kenny and Stango are actually related. They're cousins, like first cousins.
Right? I'm his sensei. So yeah, he's better than me, but that just shows how great of a sensei I was.
You're the Roshi,
right?
Look, man, that's right. He's Goku.
I think he's more Jiraiya-like, but that's how I would say.
So he's dead.
Yes, he's dead.
Drag him.
He's dead. Yes, he's 6 feet. Not even 6 feet. He's like 30 feet because Jiraiya died in the water.
Joro, bitch.
He's in the ocean.
Yes, he's drifting away.
He took the fishes.
I don't like
Yes.
any of this.
But yeah, no. I played Smash very, very early in my life. I want to say like when I actually was playing Smash, like with my cousin and his friends, was like I was probably like around 6 to 8 years old
Yeah,
or
you were
so.
a baby. You were an absolute baby.
And that's even funnier to that point because like him and my sensei after that in my next step in my like Smash career as far as getting better at the game, I was able to do like advanced techniques, not consistently or good, mind you, but understand the concepts and doing them. Like I believe what I remember to be the most accurate, I was able to like do a mechanic in Melee, like a movement mechanic called wave dashing, like very young at like 9 years old. And
Yeah, that's
like there are some
actually
people, yeah. So what wave dashing is in Smash, it's essentially part of the air dodge mechanic where you're in the air, you push one of the trigger buttons, you like dodge the move. In Ultimate, the way it works, you can do just the trigger with no stick input and you'll like spot dodge in the air and you'll fall down. In Ultimate, they added it where if you're holding a direction with the stick, you'll go in that direction and have a little bit more lag. The way it works in Melee, you pretty much only go the direction that you're holding. So if you just hit the trigger while you're in the air, you'll go stationary. You won't go anywhere. So you don't fall into it, but you still have the invincibility of an air dodge. But
Right.
in Melee, you still have the directional air dodge. And there's people debate it exactly, but it's essentially an exploit of the game's engine where there's no animation of going from air dodge to the ground. So if you air dodge into the ground purposely, like at a 45 or whatever degree angle this is, you'll kind of slide a little bit. So it's like a movement mechanic that can, specify where you want to be from going from the ground to the air.
Yeah.
So
It's
that
very
was
hard to do,
that's
too.
it's hard to do consistently, especially if you're like newer to the game.
Yeah.
But with my cousin Kenny and all of his friends, they, watched a lot of things of old school Smash, like Ken and Azin, and like went to tournaments or two and stuff like that. So they were kind of familiar with like the whole competitive aspect of it. So we did things like all the advanced mechanics of,
We were bringing you up young. We knew what we were doing. We were fucking
Right.
cultivating. I was like, listen, I'm gonna get rich somehow. This is one of my seeds. I'm putting this shit in a pot. I'm gonna water it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, right, right. I don't like what you're doing there. It looks like you're like rubbing my 9-year-old head back in the past.
That's right, baby. That's right.
But yeah, that's essentially the gist of it. I was playing at a very young age, playing with Kenny and everything like that. And just being, honestly, at that time, it wasn't something where I was like, I really like being competitive in Smash. Like, I was just hanging out with my cousin and just playing the game and learning this stuff just as it went at that time.
So I got into Smash Bros. At the dawn of the very first game. I remember the commercial where it was a bunch of grown-ass people in the giant costumes. They had those big fluffy costumes. Kenny, you probably remember this too. I feel like you were young enough.
Oh, 100%. I'm pretty sure I don't have to give my story because our stories are going to be the same.
Yeah, like I remember watching the commercial and they were playing that song. Like I don't even want to try because I hate singing and I love singing, but I don't want people to have to hear
It's
it.
like something like "We're friends together."
Yeah,
something like that.
Song.
Yes, and like
That's
Mario
exactly
is
that
punching
song.
on Pikachu and Donkey Kong, but they're like adults.
It starts off so friendly. And then
Yeah,
they just start whipping ass.
The commercial starts off, and I wasn't even. I was born at this time, but I wasn't a real person. I was like a baby.
Yeah.
When the 64
you were
version
mashed
came out.
potatoes.
Yes, I was literally mashed potatoes. That commercial, they're like frolicking in the field, like they're all friends, and then all of a sudden, I'm pretty certain there's just the generic record like skip, like, and they literally just start beating the hell out of each other with no remorse.
Yes.
Pikachu's getting messed up, Donkey Kong is getting messed up, Mario's getting smashed, and then it's just showing like this chaotic amalgamation of Nintendo characters just beating each other up, and that was really what kind of drew everyone to it. Is just like Mario and DK can fight, Mario and Samus can fight,
Pikachu, like just the idea of that was so cool back in the day. I don't know how old we all had to be because the first Smash Bros. Game. Do you know when it came out, Kenny? Like
1999.
I think it was. Yeah, it was like right at the end of N64's life. So right before GameCube. I think it was like 99 or 98.
Oh wow. Yeah. So that game is old as dirt.
Yeah.
It's a 90s game.
It was right at the end of the 64's lifespan, though.
Wow.
Yeah.
So me and
official
you
date in America was April 26, 1999.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we were really young, and I saw the commercial. I told my dad immediately, like, I need to get this game. there wasn't a lot of gameplay footage, I feel like, for it, but there was enough to know that it was going to be a fighting game with all of the Nintendo characters, or most, the biggest ones. And you just had to have it. I mean, it was just another
at
game
the time.
that you
Like,
had to
what
have.
more could you ask for?
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like how it is now, where everyone's like, oh, where people go into fucking crying fits whenever a DLC character that gets announced and it isn't their specific character.
Yeah.
Back then, it was just like, holy Mario, Link, fucking Kirby, Pikachu. Like, what the?
You were,
like,
you were super
just
happy to have
what
all
it
that.
was. Yeah, you
Yeah,
couldn't really
super
ask for
iconic.
much more for what it was.
Yeah, super
It's
iconic
it's
for the
very
time.
interesting too, because during that time, the internet was still like kind of starting to become a thing, like not even really close to it, very infancy. So the only time that you would read about these things, and I just kind of know this just knowing the past of the game, because like I never really did this, because obviously still like 3-4 years old, not a person. So the conscious thought of like things like that didn't really come to me. People would find out and read more about this by like Game Informer, like video game magazines,
Yes.
Nintendo Power.
Yep.
Like there wasn't online forums that people talked to or like voice chatted online. So the culture of it was very different, where information felt like harder to get to, but it was more celebrated because it's like, oh, look at this. There's a Nintendo Power like article about Super Smash and like strategies and guides and everything like that. So a lot of it was like, I want to say the word doesn't make entirely much sense, but like a lot more organic. I don't know. It was just a way
I get what
different
you mean
time to
now.
appreciate. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I get what
agree.
you
It's
mean.
something Miyamoto has talked about that. That's the guy who's big in Nintendo, created Mario, etc. He's not in reference to Smash, but he's talked about stuff like that with Zelda and stuff, where when he created Zelda 1, he almost thought of it as a cooperative experience, where in his head he thought of kids going to school and talking to their friends and being like, hey, did you find, like, if you put a bomb on this bush, it opened up a secret passageway. Did you know that? And the friends would go, what? No, what the hell? That's crazy. And they would go home and try it. Like, he thought of, when he made that game, it having secrets and stuff, and it having that experience where people would go to the schoolyard and say, did you know if you do this here, you'll find that secret? So, yeah, that experience of the game was really cool. Breath of the Wild was similar in a way, where it's so big where you'll just talk to a friend like, hey, did you go to this part of the map? And you're just like, what? No, what? I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
I'm kind of curious because there's a bit of a similar sentiment to that. What did you guys like? When did you guys first find out how to unlock the additional characters in 64?
So in the original 64 game, you had to do specific things to unlock them, right? Like there was one you had to do break the targets or something like that for everybody. So I don't remember how exactly. I feel like my best friend, who was 3 years older than me, so he would have been probably a teenager by this point, but he always knew stuff like this. He would just, I don't know if he had Game Informer or if he just had something, but he would just tell me. I would call him and be like, hey, how do you unlock Luigi? How do you unlock Jigglypuff? How do you unlock Ness? And he would just tell me, like, this is what you have to do. Same thing with Captain Falcon, because I actually mained Captain Falcon in 64, but he told me how to unlock them, I feel like. I don't think I just found out on my own. And it was kind of fun back then to unlock them.
I remember pretty specifically the process, I guess. It was mostly playground talk. We would talk to different friends and then be like this, that. So everybody just unlocks Puff, because Puff is just like beat the game on any setting, any amount of lives, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you fight Puff, you unlock her. Captain Falcon, if I remember, is you had to beat arcade mode fast. I don't remember the time frame, but you had to beat it under a certain amount of minutes.
I think it was 14. Sounds like the number.
Yeah, and then you would get Challenger approaching Captain Falcon.
Yeah.
Ness was you had to beat arcade mode on hard, I think, with only 3 lives. There's something along those lines. But I found these things out just with just like friends. People would be like, oh, did you unlock that Ness character? Because also we didn't know who the hell Ness even was.
I never
did you unlock Ness? And I'd be like, oh no, how do you do it? And then it's you just gotta do arcade mode on hard.
Basically.
Luigi, it's crazy. This game has 4 unlockable characters. That's not a lot.
No.
Not
compared to the like
it took me so fucking like months to unlock Luigi. Luigi was my last character to unlock, and I wanted him so bad because I was always a Luigi kid when I was younger. I wanted him so bad. It took so long to unlock him because for Luigi, I believe it was you had to do everybody in the game just breaks the targets to unlock Luigi. And I could never do Jigglypuffs. Like for the longest time, I could never figure out how to do Jigglypuffs. And it took months for me to realize, I think one of my friends told me that you could use her pound attack to get more airtime. And you basically had to do that to get her last target. Or maybe it was board the platforms. It was something like that. Yeah, so Luigi was the last character I unlocked because it took me months. And you had to do break the targets for everybody. And I couldn't figure out how to do it with Jigglypuff. I just did not know how to do Jigglypuff's break the targets. And back then, I thought it was super hard and impossible. It's funny how absolutely easy it is. Like, child's play easy. But I just didn't know that you could use pound to get more airtime. Because remember, I'm like 9 years old, 8 years old.
Yeah.
It wasn't until just, once again, someone in the playground, somebody at school saying, oh, yeah, if you press B, she does that pound attack, and she gets more airtime, and you can use that to basically fly all the way over to the target. You do, like, pound, jump, pound, jump, pound, jump.
Yep.
But yeah, Luigi was my last character I unlocked, and it took months, which is crazy, because now I get a Smash game, and you unlock all the characters in a night, and there'll be, like, 50 unlockable characters, whereas...
Like, literally 50.
Smash 64 has 4 unlockable characters, and it took me months to unlock them. It's pretty cool. It adds to the longevity. No, it took me months to unlock Luigi. Literal months.
You poor soul.
God. I know you. I won't even get on you for that. But
yeah,
who did you guys main in 64? I don't know if you even played this thing. Were you alive?
So I think by the time that I was like kind of like able to play a game like Smash and not just like be falling off the stage and killing myself,
given a
I think
controller that wasn't plugged in.
Yeah, that actually happened a lot.
Oh yes, of course it did. You were a child.
Yes. I think
it didn't happen to Nick that much. It actually happened to our other cousin a lot more than Nick.
Yes, for sure. I think Kenny and them they moved on to Melee by that point. When I was playing that, Melee had already been out for like a few years at that point. When I went back to play 64 just to kind of like it, I played Kirby because he's easy and broken. Captain Falcon, Fox a little bit. I played a lot of Ness. That game, for people who don't know or have very limited knowledge of like how Smash competitive works for a lot of things, I'll kind of dumb it down for you. The biggest difference of 64 to all the titles afterwards is that 64 hit stun, essentially when you hit someone, how laggy they are, like in a like a knockback like kind of thing, is like night and day difference to all the other games. 64, when you hear about people talk about, oh, you hit a person, you kill them with one hit. That's actually what 64 is. It's entirely possible to do it off of even a singular hit, just because the hit stun mechanic is so long in that game.
Smash 64 is Marvel vs. Capcom. Like, you die.
Yes. If you get hit, you are definitely dead, for sure.
That shit is X Factor.
But those are the characters that I played. I didn't really have the same experience of like 64 being like, oh, my first Smash game, so I'm like exploring all these characters I don't know about. I kind of went back to it with like prior knowledge of, you know, what characters are good and easy to play.
So when you went to it, there was no exploration. It was like, I know Kirby's broken, I know Pikachu's like the best character, etc.
Right, exactly.
For me, back in the day, I mean, I was a Zelda kid. I used Link. I think Link is the most main character in like every fucking Smash game, just in terms of casuals. Casuals love Link. Like if I meet a group of casuals in any Smash game,
there's a Link in there.
There's always a Link. Like,
there's always a Link somewhere in there.
Link is, I truly think, the most played casual character. And when I got into Smash, I used Link. Like, I fucking love Link. Grew up playing Zelda, so I made Link in Smash 64.
Now there's 3 of them.
Yeah, there's just 3 of them.
You do have to think about that. I feel like having so much Legend of Zelda representation, I feel like they just must know. They just know it's like these people love this silent fucker.
Yeah, it's not even
doesn't even say shit.
It's not even just Zelda representation. It's Link representation. Like, people love Link so much they want 3 of them. Like, they want 3 Links.
That's crazy.
He's the fucking Goku of the game.
Let me go over some quick Smash Bros. Facts that most people probably don't know. Maybe they do. So when Smash for Wii U and 3DS was out, a lot of people don't notice, but Brawl was actually the biggest selling Smash game ever at the time. And only until recently with Smash Ultimate has Brawl been surpassed as the biggest selling Smash game of all time. Brawl sold like 15 million copies and Ultimate sold over 16 million now. So it's kind of random, but Brawl, for as hated as it was, we could definitely discuss Brawl. But as hated as it was, it actually was the most selling. It was probably because of the success of Melee, I would think, right? You would think after Melee's huge success, most people probably assumed, oh, the next one's coming out, it's going to be amazing. And so they all bought it, and then it was god-awful, and you can't, like, you know, return all. Like, everyone's not going to return the game. It's just kind of like, yeah, I just have it, I guess, but it's trash, and everybody went back to Melee.
Even if you return it, that doesn't stop it from being a sale. Because, like, you return it to GameStop. it still got registered as a sale for the game.
Yeah, it's
as
still a
new.
sale.
Also,
report returns.
Also, the Wii was an absolutely outstandingly selling console. Like it sold a ridiculous amount of units.
Yes,
and
as far as
had a super high install base. And the build up to Smash Brawl was really, really big.
Yes, Smash Dojo.
There was a lot of build up to it, and it just got people really invested.
That website would get so many clicks every single day of people just tuning in and seeing who's the new character, what's the new stage. As far as like the content that Brawl provided, as far as, you know, things to look at every single day on the website, people were tuning in every single day to see all the new updates when it came to Brawl. So it was yes, it was a very, very anticipated game for sure.
Yep. Real quick. So Ultimate is the most selling fighting game ever, just by the way, like of all fighting games, Smash Bros. Ultimate is the most sold copies of a fighting game in history, surpassing Street Fighter 2. And apparently, and this is crazy to me, but Ultimate is the fastest selling Nintendo game ever, period. Like it's just like the fastest selling Nintendo game ever.
Well, there's an easy way to explain that. Fans of Super Smash Brothers, they are literally members of a cult. I don't think
fucking right we are.
The thing about Smash, it has become such its own thing. It's not even a Nintendo product anymore. It's a gaming product that all people can recognize.
That's true. It's kind of it's annoying in its own way, because you'll watch a Nintendo Direct and Nintendo will give all these really cool announcements. They'll talk about stuff and it'll be really hype. Through the whole Direct, the chat is like, where's the Smash? Where's Smash? Where's Smash? Where's Smash? Character. And if the Nintendo Direct, it could be the greatest Nintendo Direct ever. They could show you the new Zelda game, the new Metroid game, whatever, right? It's fun. They'll show you a little bit of Yoshi. They'll just show a bunch of really cool games and cool concepts. If the Direct ends and there isn't a sudden fucking Smash trailer at the end of the Direct, the chat is like, this fucking sucks. Nintendo doesn't know what we want. Trash Nintendo. Fucking Nintendo. Like, even if there's not a Smash game being supported at the time, I remember after Smash for Wii U was kind of done being supported, they were done with it. There were Nintendo Directs that happened after, when Smash for Wii U was just done, they were like, hey, we're done. A Direct would happen, and then people would still be like, oh, you guys think there's going to be a Smash reveal at the end of the Direct? Like, there's going to be, if Nintendo has to have a Smash reveal at the end. And like, it ends like, I can't fucking believe Nintendo didn't have a reveal. It's like, what the?
And even when it's a reveal, people are still angry. It doesn't matter if there's a reveal or not. You're still going to get a firing squad.
Yes, no, it is insane that through it. I can't even put words to describe like how polarizing the Smash series is to gaming in general. It is like a epicenter of attention for people. When any kind of convention happens, there's always the thought in everyone's back of their mind, is there going to be something about Smash at this event?
It's fucking crazy.
Is there going to be a Smash room? I remember going to a lot of cons and conventions where there would be a gaming room and then it'd be a Smash room.
Yes.
Like
it's just like, listen.
Like they have a room for all games and then a Smash Bros game room, like just one room for Smash. It's crazy.
Yes, it's quite the incredible thing. For sure.
So I guess Stango, since you are, here and you're one of the top players in Melee, walk us through like the beginning of your Melee career and the peak of it and everything like that. Like walk us through how you became, a good player, like what it took, what you had to do, and all of that bit. I want to hear your story.
So
also, just for flex, you can throw in your position, top what in the world.
At this point,
peak?
at this point, I believe God, it's been so long since I even looked at it because, spoiler, I don't really play that much Melee anymore, like entering a lot of tournaments. I play a lot more of Project M.
We've been locked down for 2 years, too.
Yeah, but like online tournaments, like I haven't really paid attention to like my Melee skill and stuff like that for probably about a year now. We'll get into that later. But as far as my peak, I think I remember correctly, my highest peak placement was 32. I think that's what it was. I know it sounds so weird because like when it comes to Melee rankings, it's a pretty prestigious list because it's only 100 people and it's a global ranking. And nowadays in Melee, the competition for a global ranking is a lot more competitive than it used to be before. But it really just has been so long since 35 was my career high. I was just looking at it just now.
Mr.
That's
35.
pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Of all people who play Melee, you are number 35 in the entire world.
Right. That was in summer of 2019.
Mr. 35.
Mr. 35.
I used to get hyped because you know me being the manager. But I used to get really hyped, really proud of him. And I used to just talk a lot of shit. And whenever somebody would bring him up, like, did you know that he's my cousin? You know, I'm like that. I'm like, you know, I'm probably like Chris Brown's brother. I don't know if Chris Brown has a brother, but I'm sure if Chris Brown has a brother, he makes sure to remind every fucking girl he talks to, like, did you know?
Hey, I'm Chris Brown's brother.
I'm Chris Brown's brother.
Yeah, no big deal. I'm Chris Brown's brother.
Yeah. But yeah, go on, Stango. So
so as far as my initial start, I want to say around in 2012, I moved to Abington, Pennsylvania, and I met one of my really good friends that I met in the Smash community, Metal Reaper or Bobby. He was so much better than I, and he had a very good grasp and understanding of the game. Like, as far as what you would say I was to make it, you know, relatable for everyone listening, I was getting good at the game in the way where I was starting to understand the basic concepts and like techniques, but I wasn't able to consciously use those things while fighting a real opponent. So I would just start playing like I was 4 years old again against anyone who was good. So through all those years, I used to play Metal Reaper Bobby and his brother, Matt. I used to go over their house. They used to live down the street from me. I used to go to their house every day after school, play, and I used to be a little baby about it. I would get beat so bad, I would cry and go home. But I would be back the next day.
Yeah, that's determination.
Yeah, that's the thing that Bobby liked about me is that he was just like, he would beat me so bad that I would literally get so upset I would cry, and I'd be back the next day to get my ass whooped again.
I love that, right? I fucking love competitive nature of just people in general. Because I'm such a competitive person, and I can relate to literally crying over it. Like my dad used to beat me in fighting games when I was a kid. Like we would play Tekken and shit like that. And he would beat my ass because he's an adult and I was an actual kid. And I would get so frustrated, I would start to cry. Like I wanted to beat him so bad. And I would spend hours in training, and every day I'm like, Dad, you want to play Tekken? And he'd be like, all right, I'm gonna beat up on you again. And we would play until eventually I was better than him. And like that determination to just be better, like going back every day to get your ass whipped, don't care, cry every time, frustrate every time, break your control every time. You know,
right.
I'm interested. Who did your dad use in Tekken?
Brian Fury and
your dad was trying to beat your ass.
Yes, he was definitely trying to fucking come after you.
God. Brian
Paul
Fury,
had that ignorant ass move.
Yeah,
Paul had that ignorant ass move that took like 70% of your health the moment he charged up a punch.
Yeah,
and I would run into that shit all the time.
That's really funny.
Was fucked up. That's great.
That's really funny.
Shout outs to the dad.
Yeah.
Like,
so
go on.
To continue on to that, so I would go back there every single day, practice and play, and he would teach me a lot of things. And I noticeably got much better because, to give context to this, and this is a great story, and I know Kenny remembers this one, I would always lose to Kenny and all of his friends. Medina, Cheyenne, I would always lose as well. Cry, bitch, complain, and everything like that as well. I want to say this is maybe 2009 or so is like when this roughly started, when I started living in Abington and I was practicing with Metal Reaper. I want to say around like 2011, 2012.
No,
I don't know how it before that, even before that.
It was when I think it was like 2010. It was I think it was in 2010. I remember the specific day, the first time I played you after you started getting good. I remember the day. I don't remember the date, but I remember like where it was, what we were doing. So Stango, you've already revealed you play Marth, right? Marth's your main. But back in the day, I've always mained Falco. And because he kind of grew up with me, we lived in the same house, he was a Falco player, right? He just also played Falco. When he moved to Abington and he was actually getting better and all this other stuff, during that time, at some point, he picked up Marth and really started getting really good with Marth. So around 2010, maybe 2011, like it would be early 11, he came over, and at the time I was living with my grandmom, and he came over our grandmom's house, and he came up, and he was just like, hey, you want to play Melee or whatever? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, hype. And we sat down to play Melee, and he was whipping my ass. Like, just fucking having his way with me. I remember he picked Marth. And as soon as he picked Marth, I was like, oh, you little bitch. I was like, you fucking traitor. I was like, you turned on the Falco Squadron?
Damn.
And then he was like, yeah, man, I had to pick a good character. And like...
Oh, spice.
And he was tearing me, like, he was just beating my ass. But it wasn't super bad. Like, I would get close. Like, he would 2-stock me or 1-stock me. Like, it would, the games would be close still, but he won almost all of them. Whereas now, like, years later, like, if I play Stango now, like, it's consistently a 3 or a 4-stock.
Well, let's not leave out the fact that on my
birthday, he's
birthday,
gonna win 100% of the games.
On my birthday, Kenny got JV5'd. I'm just saying.
That's true. That's true.
He got JV5. The viewers who don't know,
but this is wild. You were hold on, real quick. I'll speed it up for the asshole here. A JV5 means he got a perfect. Now, a perfect in most fighting games means you never take any damage. Perfects basically don't happen in Smash. We call them 4-stocks, 3-stocks, etc. A 4-stock means you won without losing a life, but you probably got hit. A JV5 or a perfect, it means that I never even did a % of damage to him. However, for context, this was on his birthday, all right? And at the time, he was Mr. 35, and I was just like, I don't guy that works as a waiter in a restaurant, all right?
Yeah. Yep. Miscellaneous guy number 3. Damn. We couldn't at this point where Stango is, like, we could never actually win a game. Like, we can't actually beat you now. Like, it's kind of crazy. Because Melee is one of those unforgiving... It's not like... There's not much variance in Melee. You're just either good or you're not.
Yes.
There isn't much of this, like, we all play Yu-Gi-Oh! And, like, other card games where you can draw out of it. Maybe the best player doesn't draw well, or maybe they brick, or whatever happens. In Melee, there's none of that. Like, he's going to be Marth every fucking game, and his Marth is going to do what Marth does every single game.
The thing is, me and Frazier are good at Melee to the point where there's not a casual in the world that could beat us. Like, there's not a casual in the world that could beat me in Melee. It's simply not possible. And I'm pretty good.
We know how to do all the advanced techniques, like wave dashing, short hop, L cans, like everything.
So I'm pretty good, even like from a low level, like local level, I'm decent. But that level of good that I am, it's not. There is a gulf of an ocean between me and a top 100 player.
Melee's ceiling is so ridiculously high. Like, the ceiling on Melee, I think, if I'm being honest, is one of the highest ceilings in all of gaming. It has to be, because and I'm gonna reinforce that with saying this. At one point in Melee, there was something called the 5 Gods. And most people know about the 5 Gods. You have Mewtwo King, Mango, Armada, Hungry Box, and Dr. PP, also known as PPMD. Those are the 5 Gods. This is a statistic that I literally Googled, but I already kind of knew because I lived through it. If any 2 gods attended an event, one of them always won every single event from 2008 to 2015. So if there was ever a Smash tournament and 2 of the 5 gods, at least 2 of the 5 gods attended the event from 2008 to 2015, they won every single event. That is fucking unheard of. Like, that is insane.
Yeah, so there's a level of dominance to that game during that era that is pretty much unprecedented in a lot of Smash titles. There is one in Smash 4 that was very similar to it, but a single person being dominant is, something that happens in gaming all the time. This is between 5 players.
And it's 7 years.
Yes,
that's 7 years. Like, imagine, because I know a lot of people that listen play Yu-Gi-Oh! Imagine if for 7 years, only 5 people won every single Yu-Gi-Oh! Event. Every Yu-Gi-Oh! Event was won by only 5 people.
That would be crazy. Like, that would be literally crazy. That's so many YCSs and nationals and worlds and everything. Like, it would be insane. It would be called the 5 gods. You would only call those people.
They'd be the 5 Egyptian gods.
Because it's a lot different in gaming where you have one player that's dominant over the others, because a lot of that is able to be analyzed better, where like this player just understands these concepts of this game just a lot better than all the others, and they also can see the weakness of players less than them, and they take more advantage of that, et cetera, et cetera. This is 5 players that all bounced between each other. They all had favorable matchups between each other, and they had disadvantageous matchups. So like Armada would beat Mewtwo King. Mango would beat Armada. PP would beat Hungrybox. Hungrybox would beat Mango. And it would just go back and forth in this infinitely changing matchup spread.
And the matchup spread wasn't necessarily character based all the time. It was also just like player based, like how they personally played. But also, it's important to note, I'm sure you know this, but it's important to note for everybody, it's not just that matchup spread. It's also, those were the 5 that really put in an ungodly amount of work. Like it's not just talent. You cannot get to that level on talent alone. They spent hundreds on hundreds of hours practicing and refining their skill.
Yeah, it's kind of absurd. And I will say this too, when it comes to competitive Melee, because I used to want to be competitive in Melee, but I was already competitive in Yu-Gi-Oh! When I realized what the ceiling was for Melee, I looked up and realized what I would have to do. I would have to essentially give up the other portion of my life that I wasn't already giving up to Yu-Gi-Oh! And I might even have to give up some of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Too. Just because the ceiling, and I want to go all the way. So the ceiling is so fucking high that I would have to sacrifice either schooling or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or something would have to like literally be sacrificed in order to even have a shot at it. I'm not saying that I would have ever become a great Melee player, because you could try, and many people have, and you still don't break into the top 100, top 10, God forbid, something like that. Like you may never become a god.
But that's your ambition, right? Frazier's
Yes.
ambition is, if I'm going to play Melee for real, I'm playing to make it to top 5.
And
I want to be top 5.
I never took it too seriously, even though I love competitive Melee. I love competitive Smash, actually. Like I used to watch Isaiah back in the day in 64, and I used to watch Mewtwo King, Mango, and all the other 5 gods in Melee, and Brawl. I didn't really care about Brawl, but I mean, I did used to watch, I think his name was Azin and Mewtwo King playing pretty much Meta Knight and stuff like that. And then Smash, Smash 4 was Zero. I used to watch Zero a lot, and then Nairo. And then for Smash Ultimate, like MK Leo and Tweak, I pretty much love competitive Smash in general. But I realized really early on, it just takes so much, and I'm not one of those people who likes to half-ass anything if I'm going to be competitive at it. I either go all the way in, or I don't go in at all. That's just kind of how I am.
Yeah, there's been plenty of people in the history of Smash that have successfully balanced, like a, for lack of a better word, a functioning life with Smash.
It's so hard.
Hungrybox is the biggest example of this. He was pretty much going to school to be a chemical engineer. He worked as a full-time chemical engineer and was topping majors and winning tournaments and everything like that.
I have huge respect for Hungrybox in that regard. I want to quit on that note, because HBox, although I'm one of the people that's not the biggest fan of watching Jigglypuff play, right? But I'm not an HBox hater. I have a huge amount of respect for the dedication and work HBox has put in, and how he balanced his life with it, going through college, becoming a chemical engineer, and then he was going on a tournament run, and also, like, after he graduated and had a full-time job as a chemical engineer, also winning tournaments. And I remember there was the time when he played Reggie Fils-Aimé. You guys remember that?
Yeah, at E3.
So I think it was like E3 or something. He played Reggie. Like, it was after it was like the Smash Invitational. Reggie,
for Smash 4. Yeah,
Reggie made like a joke, and then they kind of challenged each other and created like a soft, like, fake fun beef. And then at like an E3 or something, Reggie and HBox like set up a thing, and they had like an exhibition match on stage and everything. And HBox destroyed Reggie. And the thing that was embarrassing to me is that Reggie didn't even look like he knew how to like hold a controller. Like, he, as being the president of America of Nintendo, he didn't even understand really to up B back on stage. Like, he had no concept of the game. And to me, I personally thought that was a really bad look, because you need to look. It's okay if you can't beat HBox. He's one of the best players in the world. He didn't look like he knew how to play the game, and that's not okay. And so I remember talking about that with people, but Reggie, essentially afterwards, HBox made like a joke. He was like saying, for being the president of Nintendo, you suck at Smash. And then Reggie was like, I run a company. I don't sit in my house and play Smash all day. And then HBox was like, I'm a chemical engineer. And like,
yeah, he tried to like do the classic, like, oh, you're a nerd.
Yeah,
Like,
he
I'm-
tried.
I'm
Like,
a
it was really weird.
Yeah.
It was really weird. I was like, dude, you can't say that to HBox. Like, sure, you run a company, okay, but like he also does something that takes up a huge portion of his life. He doesn't just sit in his room and play Smash all day either.
I guess the same is true. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and also nobody's asking you to beat HBox. We're just asking you to know how to up-B on stage. Like, you don't even know how to up-B onto the stage.
A basic understanding of the game. We're not saying be competitive. Just a basic understanding. Like, if I hand a controller right now to a random person walking down the street, they're gonna walk off the edge every time until I explain to them how to up-B. The fact that this guy who's the president doesn't know how to do it is ridiculous.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
And I was gonna,
Yeah, go ahead. No, you're good.
what I was gonna say is, I guess the same is true for me because my biggest part in Yu-Gi-Oh, like my biggest growth in my career, actually came when I also was in college, when I was studying to be an accountant. I won a YCS in 2010, and that was like my junior year of college. And then I went on a fucking tear from that point on, right? Like, I go on to top like 22 events and everything, like all this stuff.
For prosperity, in case anybody doesn't know, because I found this out about Frazier recently, he topped the YCS with a 51 card deck. That shit is crazy impressive, okay? I found that out recently, that he fucking topped the YCS with a 51 card rant deck. And that
was
shit
also
is
just
crazy.
I'm assuming that's not even like a good like high card deck like Grass is Greener. We're talking about like
it was not. No, it wasn't.
It's
something
not
like
even
Grass
that
is Greener.
broken.
No. It was me. I couldn't decide which deck I wanted to play for the YCS, so I literally play both. I just put them together. And I cut 9 cards. It was over 60, and it was like 60 cards. I cut 9, and I was like, this is what I'm playing. And people were like, you cannot be serious. We're in fucking Minneapolis. We flew here.
You invested money and time to show up in bullshit.
I was sponsored at the time, but still, I was like, I really like both of these decks. I just can't decide which one is better. They both have weaknesses, and they both have strong points. So I just play both. And it actually worked out so well because in the beginning of most of the games, I would only show one part of the deck. Like, I wouldn't even reveal that there was a second component to the deck. And then I would just switch into the second component on like turn 2, and it was just too late. Like, once you realize, like, oh god, what the fuck are you playing? Like, what is that? It's too late. Like, the game's already over.
That's really funny. I've never heard of anything like that. You're playing 2 meta decks in a single deck.
I'll send you the interview. It's like the top like my deck profile, whatever you want to call it. I'll send you the interview thing because that's how Kenny found that. YouTube suggested it to him because our YouTube accounts are like merged now.
Yeah, because of the podcast and because like Frazier's a name on the internet because of YouTube. I randomly started to get recommendations of Frazier, and I was like, "Oh, that's funny." And then one day I was like sitting around. I was like, "I'll just watch this," and like I thought it'd be interesting.
So you were saying
51 card deck.
So you were saying something in regards to when we were talking about Reggie and Hungrybox about like time dedication to Smash. You were wanting to say a point, Frazier?
Yeah, I was just saying like I do fuck with Hungrybox on that level too because when you're in school, like obviously school takes a lot, especially engineering. I respect engineering. Anything STEM, like any one of the STEM degrees, really fucking difficult. I would say accounting is also really up there too. Accounting is super difficult, but we don't have to get into all of that. But I remember grinding super hard to top YCSs, but also to not fail school. Like, I shouldn't say to not fail school because I'm pretty much a straight A student, but to also like keep up that level of academics while also being
for you. Failing would have been really not being straight A. Like, you wanted to stay a straight A student and top YCSs.
Yes, like getting C's would have been, because I've been a straight A student pretty much my whole life, so getting C's would have been really disastrous for me. So if I started to slack to the point where like my grades were C level, which is in college. Now I realize it in hindsight, but there was nothing after college except work. Your degree doesn't say he was a C student. Your degree just says you graduated. It doesn't say, you know what I mean? Like in high school, you have to prove something in high school because you're trying to get to college. But when you're in college, after that, it's not like the piece of paper tells people, well, this guy had a D average. Like that's not a thing. So there's no real reason to want to be a straight A student in college. I mean, yes, people can argue, oh, I want to get my money's worth and all sorts of stuff, but like at the end of the day, if you're just there like I just want to get my education, I want a basic understanding of the subject, you're going to get trained on the job anyway. Like, school is a fucking farce, and that's a whole different topic, but it's a lot of it is just like a farce. At the end of the day, higher education, you just really need to be able to get through it, and that's kind of how I felt. So in college, I would be leveraging both Yu-Gi-Oh, going to locals almost every day because I also made money off of it, and then also being an accountant and training. And accountant, you had to do more credits than everyone else, and the school I went to, it required 128 credits to graduate with a bachelor's degree, which is fucking nonsense. Most of our degrees needed like 116 or something like that. So I had to do all these extra classes. It was a lot. but I do know the grind of wanting to be competitive in the game and also wanting to be still good scholastically. It's not easy. It's definitely not some of the most stressful times in my life, but also some of the greatest.
The very, very, very interesting thing to that is that for me, because like I've kind of been to that glass ceiling. I've kind of been close to that level of being, that top 20, top 10 like talent. And I think it realized for me when it came to like either having a job or through school, like all through high school, Smash took up all of my time. And I never really was a big school person. So like I struggled in school. I got held back in 7th grade. I pretty much had poor grades almost my entire time in high school, or average some years. So I kind of took it as the caveat of I'm going to just get the best I can at Smash because I see this going one direction of like Smash can be a legitimate thing. And like I make decent money off of it. Like during the peak of the region I was in Philadelphia, like I could make almost like $300 to $400 off of a local in a single day. So that's like wild. That's most people don't make that.
Most people with a college degree do not make that in 2 days.
Yeah.
Also, to be clear, Stango is definitively the number one. He doesn't live in this area anymore, but he was definitively the number one player of like the Philadelphia area.
Right. So there was just this whole like small region that had a lot of active players. Like I used to, make good money going to locals and regionals and stuff like that. So I could see the potential of it. And during like 2014, 2015, this is like the time of like when Smash Melee was ending up on MLG and Cloud9 and God, I can't even remember what Hungrybox's old sponsor was. It was like Curse or something like that. There was just all these sponsors that were getting into the game and everything like that. So I was seeing where it was going. And my mom was always really concerned about it because she was just like, blah, 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 like you need to go to college and everything like that. And I was just like, I'm just going to kind of do this. And this is what I think I should be doing. So I did that. Eventually, I got sponsored at one point, but before I get a little too ahead, because I realized that we're talking about my beginning, my first like actual tournament was in 2013. It was in local in Abington. My very first tournament, if you haven't heard these names before, they were pretty much top 5 talent at this point, top 5 to top 7. My very first tournament, Mewtwo King and Hacks Money were both there.
Oh my God.
And the reason why they were there at a 13-man local, the culture of early time in Smash, top players in their regions would literally drive around in all the neighboring regions and just win tournaments. They would pretty much like collect their paychecks of just going to tournaments around them because they'd be free wins. And Hacks and Mewtwo King, they would get first and second and they would split first place pot. So they would literally just make money off of Smash of doing that. They would go to PA, New Jersey, New York, Maryland, Virginia, everything like that. They would literally just get rides and everything like that to drive around. So my very first tournament,
they were just farming the local.
They were literally farming. They were Farmville on us. My very first tournament, I had top 5, top 7 talent at my very first tournament. I fucking played Link at that tournament. Like I wasn't even in the same stratosphere of being good as them at that point. So through all that time, still going to locals, still practicing, I'm starting to get good. Like I'm placing better at locals and everything like that. The biggest pivot, a big landmark for my improvement in Smash is from a single player, and his name is Cactuar. A legendary name in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania Smash scene, and just Smash in general.
Huge respect for Cactuar.
The easiest way to describe Cactuar as a person, if you're outside of the circle of Smash and don't really know about like his legacy,
or even in the circle of Smash, some people from the other regions might not really realize what he did for a lot of people and the work he put in to help a lot of people.
Yeah. A big name of it would be Cactuar PPMD. Cactuar pretty much coached and trained and grinded with PPMD to help him win Apex 2012 or 2013. I forget which one it was.
I know exactly which. Is that the return of PPMD?
Yes, when he beat everyone with Marth, when he creamed everyone.
I remember that. That was so fucking iconic and epic.
That tournament, he was training with Cactuar leading up to it.
For 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah. So as far as learning from Cactuar, like to kind of make everyone understand like his aura as a person, because in competitive gaming, stardom is a pretty big thing, like of the top players, the influencers and everything like that. When you kind of see someone, you kind of like get this aura of them, of like what they represent, like they're really skilled or they're really wise or they're really cool, whatever like that. Cactuar was very wise in the way he explained and coached people. The easiest way to explain it, Cactuar was like the Neo of Smash. He was literally Neo from the Matrix as far as like how suave and like how calculated he was and his fundamental understanding of the game. So he was a really interesting character. He kind of took me under his wing around 2014, 2015 time. He just helped me understand and break down more advanced concepts of the game and taught me how to practice better. Because one thing no one will ever tell you when you are trying to improve at a competitive game is that you could practice inefficiently. You could be practicing things either incorrectly, the wrong things, or you're on the right track, but you're not tracking progress and not getting any, let's say, tangible results so you know where to continue improvement upon. I'm sure Frazier can kind of understand that as well, as far as being like a high level.
It's so true in Yu-Gi-Oh! Too. Like what you're saying, inefficient practice and efficient practice, that's definitely a thing. I tell people all the time, you play more games 2 and 3 than you do play game 1s. So a lot of players will just sit down and start practicing a bunch of game 1s where you're not side decked in. And I would tell them, this is inefficient. If you guys want to actually practice for a tournament, you need to practice side decking. You need to practice side decking going first. You need to practice side decking going second. You need to play a lot more side deck games than you do game 1s. You only play one game 1 per round. It's not possible to play more. You only play one.
Whereas you can play double that for side deck games.
So I always try to convey that to people that if you're only practicing game 1s, if you're just constantly being like, oh, my deck beats that deck. Yeah, your deck beats that deck game 1. That's easy to do. A lot of times your matchup against somebody in game 1 is fine. And then after they side deck, it's like, well, now I can barely beat this deck because of whatever the fuck they sided in. But yes, I get that practicing efficiently thing.
Yeah. So that was a big thing for me, is to be able to consciously practice. Because the biggest issue with anyone playing Smash in particular, if anyone's ever played Smash competitively, people usually don't solo practice, as in go in the game by themselves, move around in the game, practice combos and computers. The way they practice, quote unquote, is pretty much just playing friendlies. Like
they just play a million friendlies in their friends.
Yeah, they play like friendly matches with their friends and stuff like that. And they're, playing the game, doing their tech skill and everything like that, but there's no tangible intention with what they're trying to improve and learn upon. So that's where people get into a rut of things where they just are infinitely in this same status and position and skill because, there's no progression. They're just always stagnant at the same spot. With the thing of practice, the intention and goal-oriented mindset of how to improve. That's like a big concept that he taught to me, and also just game-specific things. With that jump in mind, during that time in the Philadelphia region, I was getting like 5th, 3rd, 4th placements against like a lot of local players and stuff like that. That's where the big pivot came in. Second, first sometimes, second, first.
Yeah.
That's where I essentially became the moniker of the King of Philadelphia. And they called me that as far as my region because I pretty much went undefeated as far as tournaments in the Philadelphia region, bar it like, a random Mewtwo King or, a high level player like comes in here that's like definitely better than me. Locally, organically in my scene, I probably did not lose a tournament I attended in about 3.5 years. And that is like how much higher the bar of skill I was in. Like, that's where I was the Mewtwo King in hacks at my first tournament, where I was collecting paychecks. I was just like, I'm here for my paycheck. But I never treated it like that because like I've always liked my scene. So it wasn't anything where
you
it was
were friends with all the people. Like you were friends with the people you're going to tournaments with, and you're beaten. And I remember I went to a tournament with you. Because I wasn't really going to tournaments like that at this time at all. But I went to a tournament just for fun, and we hung out. You won the tournament, and we all went out to eat afterwards. And I was like, all right, so you're paying for it, right? Like, you won the fucking tournament. Like, you're paying for the dinner.
Yeah, but the main thing that I always kind of looked in my mind, because I've seen this from other people when I was, like, first starting out, like, there's definitely that mentality of when you are better than everyone, you want to kind of keep it that way. And I never really felt that way. I've always wanted to help my community and everything like that. So I was very close with them. I was always willing to give advice, and I was always homies with everyone.
Yeah.
So,
and you got that advice going down to you, like from Cactuar or whatever. Because what you said, I wanted to touch back on that. What you said about a lot of people practice that way, where they just play the game 100 times. But with Cactuar, because I remember I trained with Cactuar a couple times, and so I'm assuming some of the same things he said to you. He made me go into the game, put the game in slow motion, and understand all of like the animation of he was like, when your character turns around, do you know what your character does? And, like, he put the game in slow motion. He had Falco turn around. He was like, and then like jump squat. He made me like look at and understand all of the animations and like do very intentional practice. He was like, you have to he was like, it's very rare that people are walking. So you have to understand what your character is doing and what he can do from walking, from crouching, from this, that, and like very intentionally sit down and understand the very small aspects of the game that people just overlook because they just get right into L canceling and wave dashing and whatever. Right. You have to understand the core base fundamentals of this game and really get into that. And then there was a lot of just basement practice, personal practice, where you had to sit down and break this game down on your own and set these personal goals for yourself. It requires a lot of discipline and just overall energy to sit down and time to practice by yourself for an intentional thing instead of just being like, oh, I want to have fun, so I'm going to practice. I'm bad at the matchup. Okay, fine. I'll just play my friend for 300 hours. It's like that's not necessarily what you have to do.
Right.
Because I played my friends a million times in Smash over and over again, and I never reached anywhere near like, high tournament level or anything like that. And I could beat my friends, for the most part, but it doesn't matter, right? And especially if you're playing against people who are not on that level, it's kind of hard to be pushed to the next level if someone isn't actually way better than you. And then it's like, okay, how the fuck do I start to get to the point where I can challenge this guy for real?
Right. And that's the biggest thing with pretty much any competitive game is that a lot of people find the way of practice of just playing, but I truly believe in the, idea of you need to learn the game, not just play it. Having a core understanding of what makes the game more beneficial to the player who knows it the most. The player who knows it the most can almost determine the outcome of any result if they're going against someone. So moving on from that, my reign and domination of like the affiliate region and everything like that, that was all good and all. I was getting good. I was practicing. This is the part of the story where, I kind of put as a cautionary tale to people who ever want to get in competitive games. My biggest opportunities and faults as a player is that I am very, very prideful, and it is almost to my detriment of that. For example of this, like there was a lot of players, and it's such a dumb thing to say it out loud, but I'm sure Frazier can kind of align with it because I think he and I both kind of have the same ideals in a way. There was other Marth players and players on my similar skill level that would achieve certain things that I haven't achieved yet. And I would just get so frustrated with that and focus only on that instead of my own personal growth in some ways.
Right.
So that would kind of blind me to what's really important. A good example of this, kind of like my rival during the Philly region, which I had a ridiculous set record on when we played locally in Philadelphia. It was pretty much at peak, about 50-0, like in a local setting, like beat him 50 times in a row, essentially, without losing a set. But he went on to travel to the big house.
I don't think you ever said the guy's name.
RT Delu.
Okay,
yeah. RT Delu. He was pretty much like my, the second best player next to me. He went on to travel to a tournament called the Big House. I forget what number, 6, maybe. Don't remember. It's in Michigan. It's pretty much at that time one of the biggest regionals. It pretty much is a national because Armada and a lot of other European players show up to that tournament. So it's a national.
They were going to Michigan.
Yes, Michigan in the United States in the cold ass weather. About 1,000 person-ish tournaments is usually what it would hit.
That is crazy. Melee brings them out, but go ahead. So
but as far as that, RT Delu, he went on to beat Axe, which is one of the best players of all time in Melee, period. He plays Pikachu, which has notoriously always been known as like not an absolute top tier character, but he took it to a level of that character that no other main in the probably, I want to say, man, like maybe 14, 13 years that he's played the game has ever even been close to replicate. So he's kind of like that low tier, mid tier hero of a character that no one can match the, same skill of.
We didn't see a mid tier.
Like
we didn't see like a mid tier, low tier hero like that until Amsa with Yoshi. But even then, I don't think Amsa hasn't done as much as Axe.
Amsa's had great sparks, but Axe just has such a storied history within the game. Like he's kind of like as far as a career, like he's kind of like Armada tier in terms of like he has a lot of landmarks because his career is so long and he's had such consistent success. Playing a character that's technically worse than all the top tiers. So yeah, Big House 6, that's the tournament. It had about 1,500 people. So RTDLU playing Fox, going against Pikachu, he beat Axe. RTDLU's not ranked nationally anywhere. He's second to me at this point, probably like 35-0 against me. And he beats one of the, I think Axe at the time, Axe was like maybe 8 or 9, 7 on the global ranking. And I'm pissed. I'm like fixated on, I'm happy for him. But there's another side of me that is just like, dang it. Like if I had these opportunities to travel and everything like that, if I was more established to be able to go to these bigger tournaments and everything like that.
Like you could prove yourself the same way.
Right. And that's where I started envying certain things. And it really nipped me in the bud because I think it made me a little complacent because I got a little down on myself where during that time when I was in high school, I was making decent money, but I was a kid. I was spending my money on stupid shit and everything like that. So I wasn't saving up on going to like tournaments and everything like that. My mom was also a little controlling. She was concerned about me traveling to tournaments and everything like that. So that was also another tough thing, a tough challenge to overcome. But all these things in combination with it just led to some of my progression being stifled. But some things that did work out well for me. My first big tournament was Apex 2016. It was the last Apex tournament. It's a storied tournament series in Smash in general in New Jersey. And I beat a player called Mafia. At the time, he was, I think, like 46 in the global rankings, or maybe even a little bit lower, like 50 or so. And that was a big deal. That was like my first big win. And that's where the self-consciousness of me, like, can I really prove, my skill in a regional or out of my region setting? And that's where it started, like, I started feeling better about certain things like that. There's a lot of fast forward afterwards as far as other tournaments that I went to. But the main thing that I would say through all that time, the biggest highlight of my career was definitely my Genesis 5 run in 2017. That's the one that, as far as the Melee community would go at the time and, a little bit afterwards, would know who I am. Because Mango, one of the 5 gods, I went to game 5 with him in a set. Kind of took him to the wire.
Shit.
Mango versus Stango. I remember I watched that game and I linked that game to fucking so many. The Mango versus Stango, I went ham. I was in Twitch chat typing shit. That was I was
in Twitch chat.
I was fucking popping off, yo. The Mango versus
the
Stango.
Mango versus the Stango. Damn, I went to game 5?
Yes, I placed 17th out of 1,300 people at that tournament.
That's crazy.
And I beat, I want to say 4 to 5 top 100 players in that bracket.
Do you remember some of the names of the people that you beat?
A lot of them you may not know because they're not the biggest names if you're like only a little bit into Melee and everything like that. But to kind of name a few, Dark Atma, Cobalt, Android.
And by the way, Android is Armada's brother.
Yeah, Android is Armada's brother. Pretty much the best Melee doubles team because there's a format in Melee where you play doubles where there's 4 characters on the screen, red and blue, pretty much.
Yep. And if you don't know,
each other. If
somehow you don't know, Armada is what we mentioned earlier, one of the 5 gods, one of the absolute greatest players that ever played the game.
Yep. As far as Android, beat him at that tournament. The final placement that ended me there is that I lost the Mango in winners, game 5, feeling really good about it. And this was a good pivot for me for my mentality as well. Me personally, I am a very, very sore loser. I don't like losing. Like I get very upset about losing. I've thrown controllers. I've gotten really pissed off. Everything like that. And I've gotten better about it as I've gotten older. but I was very
Same.
hot-headed. Where if I lose, I'm not useful as a person. You can't talk to me. You can't reason with me.
I'm not useful as a person.
I'm not useful. Like if you're trying to interact with me, you would
You just
have
don't.
a better chance of
Bad
doing a
time.
handstand on the moon right now. So when it came to that tournament, losing Mango game 5, usually in that circumstance, I'd be having a fucking fit. But something about that tournament was the biggest change. And Frazier, I want to kind of hear a story similar like this because I know this is probably the same thing for you. Because I know we've
Mhm.
talked about like nervousness and competition and stuff like that.
Yep.
This
I get anxiety
tournament,
before every round one.
I was literally Neo in the Matrix. I was so zenned in. All the fear, all the anxiety of losing and being in competition, it was completely zero. And I've never felt that way before that day. And honestly, I've really never felt that way afterwards, as strongly, I would say, because I've definitely been
Yeah.
confident and everything like that. And it was such a euphoric feeling because I've literally felt like I was floating above the world. Like literally nothing could, break my focus. And
Yeah.
it felt like such a superhuman moment for me because I really do think that day I truly unlocked like the inner workings of like my focus and my mind. And it's so indescribable to say, but it was definitely euphoric for sure. I don't know if you've had a similar experience where like something so
Yeah, of
important to you
course.
arised.
Yeah, I've had a similar experience for sure in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where I'll say this naturally, I have really really bad anxiety about competing that most people wouldn't even know about, and I do talk about this throughout certain articles that I've written before, and in passing with some of my friends and maybe some people who I don't really know like that. I'll tell them like, look, I get really nervous before round one when they say pairings for round one are posted. My like I get that sinking feeling in my chest. I get this horrible sinking feeling. I'm so nervous. Mind you, this is after I've already won OICS. I've probably topped at least 10 events. So I'm sponsored on ARG at this time. I'm a huge name, everything. Super known player. Most people who play me, they sit down, they say something like, "Oh God, I'm just gonna
I'm
sign
gonna
a slip now."
lose
They
like
make
everything like
they
that.
make
Yeah.
that kind of joke or whatever. You know what I mean? I was, that was my life for a while. And I would still be so fucking nervous. I'd just be quiet though. So I guess they couldn't read it. But in my head, I'm like, here we go, another tournament. And what'll happen is I'll win like round one, round two, round three, and I just fucking feel like I'm in there. Like I chose the right deck. I'm playing out of my mind. I know that I have my foresight on where I know what they're gonna draw, or I feel what they're gonna do. I feel what card they might have in their back row. Like I'm making proper reads. And I just feel like, he's gonna probably top deck this, and this is gonna I'm in the zone. Like you're just in the fucking zone and nothing can stop you. And you might lose one round because it's really hard to go undefeated in Yu-Gi-Oh! In general. But you made the right decision. This specifically, if I want to take it to a year in a tournament, 2013 Nationals, where I played windups. I went 9-0 day one. Day one had 9 rounds, and day two, I think, had 2 rounds. I went undefeated day one. I won 9-0. I was just taking everyone's hand. That was the windup deck that hand looped you.
That's impressive.
Super, super ignorant deck. I played that deck, and a lot of people just played Rabbit or Chaos Dragons, which were super easy matchups. Some people even played in sectors, I think. But there was no correct deck for that tournament except windups. Like windups won the event ultimately, and it was to me it was the only deck to play. It was ridiculous, but I knew I had 4 decks to play for that event. I didn't know which one I was going to pick, and then when I finally decided, I decided that morning, mind you. This is a decision I made. I had every deck built, and I was like, I'm going to play windups. I feel like with the format being the way it is, when Macro Cosmos Dino Rabbit was considered the best deck, it had won the prior events. Everyone was taking hand traps out of their deck. Windups loses to hand traps. So if everyone's taking hand traps out, I was like, holy shit, I think I'm like reading the meta. Like this is what it's called to read the meta. And I played windups, went undefeated day one. And the only other person who went undefeated, I believe, was Mark Velez, who actually goes to AU as well, my same local. So me and him, both playing windups, went undefeated 9-0, guaranteed topping nationals now. You can go to sleep that night. You can go out to dinner with your friends. You know for sure, even if you lose both rounds tomorrow, you are guaranteed in top 64 nationals. That was one of the best experiences of my life because I also went undefeated at fucking nationals, for God's sakes. Like going undefeated day one feels amazing.
That is an incredibly impressive feat because like me knowing now as far as like competitive gaming and stuff like that, I've only recently kind of gained an interest into Yu-Gi-Oh! And just like competitive card games like in the last 4-ish years or so, mainly with like DC and now Yu-Gi-Oh! Like in the last year or a half or so. So like you saying that to me several years ago, like when I almost know nothing about Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm like, oh yeah, 9-0, just play the best deck. 9-0 now, like I just kind of understand. I'm like, that is insane.
It is, and it's hard to do because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is all about now. It's so yes, there's technical play. Like, you still need to know how to play, but there's more of an emphasis on picking the right deck. That is like where Yu-Gi-Oh! Has become in the last several years. Is if you have the right deck, you have a really, really high chance of winning the event. You could be the best player in the world technically. Like you can know all the sequencing, all the interactions, but that can only go so far if your deck isn't the best deck in the room. It can only go so far. So having the best deck is important. I feel like for that Nationals, I had the best deck. I was playing the right deck. I was playing windups. Like I said, it's a deck that won. It's a deck that should have won based on everything we knew at that time, which was, again, everyone took hand traps out their deck. So like making that meta read, if you will, was just super spot on. And it feels good to like have that pay off, like have that. But I'm always anxious. I'm always nervous. I'm always thinking, even when I'm 7-0, I'm like, damn, I'm actually 7-0 right now. Like, it's kind of a lot. Like we're at Nationals. I'm 7-0. And there's 2 more rounds left. Technically your opponent's supposed to get harder and harder because someone else you're playing is going to be now 7-0 and then they're going to be 8-0. But every round I just kept winning and I was like, damn, this deck is broken. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's it's definitely an odd feeling, like running into that moment where you really feel like all your practice just like puts you to this next level.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the most indescribable feelings I've ever felt in my life. And it sounds like such a hyped up, exaggerated thing, but if you haven't experienced it, it's almost indescribable to
it really is.
Try
I
to
can't
tell.
Really put into words.
Yeah.
Like I can't really put into words.
Think of yourself in your like favorite movie that's like an action-based movie where like, nothing can harm you. You're just the main character and everything like that. Think of yourself, but like in a real life setting. It feels very weird, where you're like very main protagonist based. But yeah, that's kind of like my biggest highlights, where I came from, where the landmarks were. Everything after Genesis, because once I finally lost in bracket out of Genesis, that was another thing. Like, oh, I'm out of bracket. It's time to get pissed off. I was so damn proud of where I was and what I accomplished that weekend. Literally nothing could ruin my mood. I was just like, damn, this was so fucking great.
Yeah.
So even, placing 17th, completely unranked, which is a very difficult feat to do. Like usually if you're unranked, that sweet spot of placement that you would get normally is around 33rd, 64 or so. That's usually where most people that are unranked are. But I was obviously better at that time than the typical unranked who's now.
You gotta start somewhere, right? Like everyone who is ranked has to start off unranked at one point in their life.
Right.
What was I going to say? So I wanted to pivot over to a topic that you brought up earlier. You said you're a tier whore, and I am the same way in Smash games. And so Smash has a lot of different games now. We have 64, Melee, Brawl, Smash 4, and then Smash Ultimate, right?
Yep.
And I pretty much play the tier list in every single one. I'm going to be honest. Like, I don't even care. I don't care how people feel about it. I do the same thing in every game I play. I pretty much play, you tell me this character's like S tier, SS tier. I'm probably going to play them. Very rarely do I not play like the best character in the game. I think the only time I can really say I didn't is probably Street Fighter Third Strike. I played an electric dude who's like Dalsim, but every other fighting game, I don't know. I just like him.
I think that's
just like random as fuck. Yeah, I fucking love him. I don't know why, but in everything else, I'm a straight up tier. Like you tell me a character's like really really good because their frame data or whatever it is, like their disjoints, their hitboxes, their hurt boxes. You tell me what it is, I'll look into it. I'll pick the character up and I'll probably play them because I like them. So I'm going to go through my characters that I've played throughout all the Smash games, and I want you guys to kind of like say like who you've played, if you've even played all the Smash games. But 64, like I said, I played Captain Falcon. So 64, played Captain Falcon. Melee, mostly played Marth. I tried to dabble a little bit with Fox. Just could not get into there's a lot of technical skill with that guy, so I just gave up on him and I went back to Marth. Brawl, there's only one character to pick in Brawl, so I played that character. Smash 4, I played Diddy, Sheik, and Rosalina, which were literally the top 3 characters in the game. But I played all 3 of like those characters, so literally like the 1, 2, and 3 characters, those are my 3 main characters in Smash 4. And then in Smash Ultimate, I kind of main Joker, Inkling, and Sephiroth, which are also some of the best characters in the entire game. I think Joker is really considered the best character in Ultimate still, even after all the nerfs and stuff that he got during the pandemic. Pretty sure Joker's still the best character. We haven't really seen an offline Joker since MKLeo hasn't really played in an offline tournament since, but he's the best Joker in the world and the best player in the world. But I'm pretty sure Joker's still the best character, so I still play Joker. Sephiroth, a lot of people have him as top tier, and Inkling might be high tier now. I don't know if Inkling is still considered top tier, but for the first year and a half of Ultimate, Inkling was a top tier character. But yeah, what about you, Kenny? Who in every Smash game, like who was your
and Smash 64, like I said, Link was my main, but as a kid, I wasn't necessarily playing competitively, and I would play Link the most, but then after Link, it would be like Ness, Pikachu, Luigi, and DK. But Link the most. Melee, Falco by far, by a country mile. Falco is by far my most played character in Melee. I love that character. He's one of the way he plays, his style, everything about that character is just so freaking cool in that game. So I love Falco in Melee.
I agree.
Brawl,
hop double laser.
Fucking
ignorant ass short.
No. He can't short hop double laser. Fox short hops double laser.
My bad.
But
yeah, he doesn't need two. If he had two,
if he had two,
it's a bit much.
But he can do double laser from the edge, and as Moon would say, that's not safe. But
it was something safe.
In Brawl. So in Smash 4,
we gotta talk it. Listen, we've been sneak decent Brawl. Like after this, we probably have to adjust the. We might have to address the elephant in the room.
No, but in Brawl, when Brawl first came out, I legit tried to give it a competitive shot. Most of my friends were like, "No, this game sucks." And then my whole point was, a lot of people were saying this game sucks competitively. A lot of people I knew. And then my point was, it's different from Melee, yes. It has some different skill sets, but I don't think that means it's an unplayable competitive game, whatever. As more and more time went on, I truly do not like the game. I don't think it's fun. There's a lot of things I don't like about it, but I'm not going to rag on it because there are a lot of people that do love the game, and I don't want to rag on somebody's favorite game. Like, if that's the game that you play, and that's the game that you want to play competitively, that's fine. I don't want to rag on it because it's not fun when people rag on the game that you really love. And so I don't want to be that person. Yes. But I don't like Brawl. That said, I did give it a serious shot. When I was really trying to play it competitively, I still was using Falco, just as a carryover from Melee. I was still using Falco. I used a little bit of Toon Link. When I went back to Brawl to play it for fun years later, now, like I said, I don't really like the game. But if I'm just playing it for fun, I usually pick either Marth or Ike. They're kind of fun to use in Brawl, Marth and Ike, but yeah, that's Brawl. Smash 4 is actually my second favorite Smash game. My favorite being Melee. I know a lot of people hate on Smash 4 nowadays after Smash Ultimate, but I actually tend to enjoy Smash 4 more than Smash Ultimate, and I really, really enjoyed it during its run. I was going to locals and stuff. But in Smash 4, I play Captain Falcon, Luigi, and Dr. Mario were my mains. A lot of people...
Can you explain why you like Smash 4 so much?
When I got back into Smash, first of all, it's easier than Melee. I love Melee. Melee's my first love for Smash. Like, I love it so much. And if I really wanted to really go hard on the dedication, I would. But I similar to Frazier, like, I looked at the ceiling, saw how far I was, and as much as I love the game, I was like, I don't know if I have enough time in my life to pursue this and also still do other things in my life that I enjoy.
Yeah.
So I wasn't willing to make that sacrifice, and I'm okay with that. But when Smash 4 came out, I really enjoyed the game a lot, and I wanted to try taking it competitive. I wasn't taking the aspirations of becoming a national player, but I was like, I want to really get good at the game and play locally and stuff, and we'll see how it goes. So it was easier to play than Melee, so it was easier for me to get into. And then I thought the game was pretty sound. I think that the mechanics that were designed into the game were sound. I don't think they were janky, as some of the other mechanics of other games are. I think the game played pretty well. I think there was combos. There was some decent extensions you can make with air dodge reads. Because even, there wasn't directional air dodge, but you had multiple air dodges in the air. There was still end lag to the air dodge. So for example, with Captain Falcon, you can like put them in a setup where either they get hit by the knee, because like the knee will true combo, Like the knee will combo and they won't be able to get out of it, but they could air dodge. But if they air dodged and you waited, you would still hit them with the knee anyway. So it would put a situation up where you would do the combo and you'd go up and try to knee them and they would air dodge the knee. It's like, okay, cool. Now you know they're going to air dodge the knee. So the second time you do that combo, you jump, wait, and do nothing. They air dodge your nothing, and then you knee them, right? Stuff like that was really, really fun and cool. So
I've been caught by that specifically too. That shit feels so dirty.
Yeah,
it feels so dirty. To be conditioned into that is dirty.
So it's a lot of fun, and I thought Smash 4 had a decent combo game, especially, like I said, I played 3 combo characters, Captain Falcon, Luigi, and Dr. Mario. Dr. Mario's combos weren't as brain dead as his big brother, normal Mario, and a lot of people told me, instead of playing Doc, just play regular Mario. This kind of goes to the pride thing Nick said. I felt like Mario was such a brain dead character that I just didn't want to play him. He felt so brain dead to me, like it was so easy to use him. I didn't like using him. And I also didn't think Doc was as bad as people said he was. He wasn't as good as Mario, but I don't think he was absolute bottom tier. He had some sauce, he had some true combos that were really nice and some good setups. And if you were good at mixing up your recovery, I play Falcon and Melee. I'm used to having a really short recovery, easily gimpable recovery. So Dr. Mario not having a good recovery wasn't a huge detriment to me because I was used to playing around not having a good recovery. Anyway, Smash 4 felt really solid and clean. I liked it a lot. I liked a lot of the gameplay in it and the setups you could have. It just was a really, really fun game. Whereas Smash Ultimate, I have a lot of fun with it, but there's a lot of things that come together in the game that I don't fully enjoy, which is why I just end up liking Smash 4 more. But anyway, to not drag this out, to jump over to Smash Ultimate, locking down a main has been really hard. When the game first came out, it was Young Link. Eventually, it just transitioned to being Ganon and Donkey Kong, because I grew up always loving Donkey Kong. I also really love Ganon. He was fun to play in Ultimate. But I don't use good characters in Ultimate. I use Ganon and DK. And then I used Terry when Terry came out. I actually love Terry. He's probably my best character in Ultimate. But then as Kazuya... He's actually
a pretty good character too. Like Terry.
Yeah,
Terry's
really
considered
good.
the best show though. And I'm doing air quotes for that one because
I was about to say Twitter is gonna get on you
and then
if you call Terry.
No, they meme him, so yeah.
Yeah, and then Kazuya came out, and I also adore Kazuya. He's my absolute favorite Tekken character. So now when I play Ultimate, I play Kazuya. So I would say my best characters are Kazuya and Terry, and then followed by Ganon and DK are my Ultimate roster.
Yeah, pretty good. What about you, Stango? Who's your roster? I mean, I know really you're a Melee guy at heart, so the other games are kind of rants, but
yeah, I actually have like
go through your thoughts
character
on the games.
Yeah, so 64, the main thing for me is that 64 is kind of like the OG. It kind of deserves its respect for what it has. The biggest problem with me with 64, the reason that I've never really played a lot more, and 64 still has such a really dedicated scene of players that still play it. Still tournaments that still go it. And it's even become like a fun side event of Super Smash Con, which is like literally a Smash Bros convention that hosts tournaments. There's 64 tournament there that like gets a lot of viewership and entrance and stuff, but the combo contest, literally the thing about, if you've never seen this before, anyone can literally watch this. If you've never watched Smash before, you can literally watch this and find entertainment with it.
It's like the dunk contest in the NBA.
Yes, it's exactly the dunk
contest.
Watch
it, I've never seen one before.
Yes, Frazier, after this, we'll watch some, and you will lose your mind. Anyhow, with 64, the biggest thing that held it back for me, even after all the respect and veteranness the game has, is the movement options and the limitations of the game's engine. The game is very clunky in terms of standards today in Smash, just because it's the first game, and that's expected of it. That's the biggest turnoff of it for me. But the characters that I did play, I messed around with Ness a lot. Ness was really fun. He has really stupid, fun combos. Fox, he felt like a tier below Falcon in terms of feel goodness while playing. Falcon feels amazing. He literally does feel like a Melee character as far as like the movement, because his dash dance is just so much better than every character's, pretty much. Yeah. He's not very clunky.
I guess I knew that as a kid too. I kind of feel it.
You know what I mean? Yeah, he feels a lot smoother as far as moving on the ground. And then Kirby, because Kirby, when I first played 64, it's actually funny. I didn't have an adapter for my computer to plug in my GameCube controller. So I would play 64 on the keyboard. And the easiest character to play on the keyboard, because you could do pivot up tilts very easily with Kirby, is Kirby. Kirby was broken character, and he's actually pretty good on the keyboard. Some people actually play that are top players on the keyboard as Kirby in 64 tournaments. Moving on to Melee, Marth, obviously, that's the guy we've been kind of talking about since this whole episode started. A lot of characters that I really enjoy. Fox is pretty much the character I've always wanted to main because I think he's just so incredibly good. He's very versatile. He is a jack of all trades of a character, but he's not in that sense where he is the master of everything. He is the master of certain things, but the things that he's good at, he's actually a lot worse than others in terms of range and, some other aspects like maybe recovery or landing, because some characters can exploit. Yeah, his recovery can be exploited. But he is so strong in so many aspects that a lot of these weaknesses are nullified, which are really, really nice. Sheik, I just really like just because she is a very oppressive character in Melee if you are good with her. If you can tech chase consistently, where, once again, for people who don't know Smash all too much, tech chasing is pretty much a action state in the game where when you get hit with a strong enough move, you land on the ground as if someone pushed you on the floor. And if you hit your shoulder buttons, you essentially do like a fast get up, like in normal fighting games. Or if you miss it, you can do other options like a roll away, a roll left, or a just normal stand up. Tech chasing is a really strong thing to do where you literally follow where they fall and you just react to where they end up rolling to or something like that. And you just grab them and put them on the ground again. And Sheik is like, that's like her main thing of getting damage. It's one of the, quote unquote, truest 0 to death combos in Melee, just because if you react every single time, there's actually no escaping it. Brawl, once again, elephant in the room. I didn't get into Brawl. Same thing where I kind of, I like Brawl for what it is. It's a different take on Smash, and there's actually a lot of great VODs and history of Brawl. It's a very history-rich game. Characters that I played Fox in Brawl, mainly just because I watched a lot of VODs of Nakat. He was a top Brawl player. Played Fox. If you watch him, Nakat versus Zero, he just does a lot of cool things like camping with these lasers, but it's really fast. It's like an interesting way because Meta Knight's so fast, so you can't camp him from long. So it's like this neat dynamic of like shooting this quick laser damage and then like dealing with the next mix-up of Meta Knight trying to approach you. I also liked Marth. I never really played him that much just because the engine of the game did not allow me to be as fast as I wanted to be. And it was also a little bit more clunkier of a game because of a buffer system. And the thing about Smash, a buffer system like other fighting games where, you put in quarter circle punch, you get Hadoken. And the reason why it comes out so easily in some games is because it buffers all the inputs before you actually act. So when it comes
you do crouching medium kick Hadoken, you do crouching medium kick and you input Hadoken while you're still in the crouching medium kick so that it buffers right out, and you cancel.
Right. It's like a frame perfect thing instead of actually having to be frame perfect with the input.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the system that's in Brawl where your inputs can come out while you're already doing an action. So like you could do a down tilt and some characters like had to confirm off of something. Let's just say down tilt and up smash. You could down tilt. And while you're even still in the lag of down tilt, you can push up on the C stick and the frame that you can act, you would just up smash. So it would just kind of automatically happen. And I've never liked that mechanic in Smash. I just feel like it's a little too clunky just because you have so much control of your character in Smash, unlike traditional fighters. Because traditional fighters, left, right, up, down, diagonal, left, right. That's really all you have. Versus Smash, you can slightly go this way. You can go to the moon. You can go down below.
Yeah, there's a lot more general control of your character. I agree with you 100%. The buffer systems in the later Smash games can be really frustrating because, especially if you come from like a melee mindset, the amount of precise control you have over your character, you can do whatever you want, however you want to do it, and the buffer systems get in the way of doing that.
It's so bad. I really hate it in Ultimate. It's one of the downfalls of Ultimate to me. Like buffering an air dodge when you're, let's say you're trying to recover and they come out to, edge guard you, and you intended to tech, but because you pressed the the shield option, the air dodge option, the tech option, if you do it at a certain timing, it'll buffer an air dodge, and then you end up
kill yourself.
And you die because of it in that game. So it's really bad when that happens. And I've seen this happen So I thought that it was something that like is a scrub thing. But then I watched the
It
absolute
literally happens to pros.
top,
It happens all the
I'm
time.
talking about the top of the top 5, not even the top 10, the top 5 players have videos, tournaments, grand finals, winners finals, where this shit is happening to them too. I'm not gonna say it happens often, but it happens to them. And it's not what they intended at all. And so I just kind of feel like it's definitely an issue. And speaking of as someone who's not, I'm not anywhere near the best player, but I can still understand like that shit is annoying. It's just not the buffering system. I don't think it's needed. I don't really know. I try to think about the pros of it, but like honestly, I don't need the buffer or anything. I can just press the buttons when I want to press the buttons and have it come out at that time. Like
I think that's the main thing that a lot of people that play Melee particularly, they really like the responsiveness of the game. You feel like if you can harness the power of the game as far as being able to have total control, not killing yourself constantly, being able to recover, being able to successfully drift and combo and everything like that. That's like the crack of the game, is you literally are plugged into the game. But the later Smash titles, and we'll kind of get into this when we talk about Brawl a little bit, this is where the biggest downfall of it is that things like the buffering system take away that precise control, because you essentially, when I'm playing those type of games, I feel like I have to wait for the game to catch up to me. And that, I feel like that's a mechanic of a game that should just never exist. I don't think I should have to wait for the game to be like, down tilt, okay, next move. And that's what really annoys me about the newer titles, because I would play them. I would literally play them all the time. The buffer mechanic is easily the biggest gate kept mechanic for all Melee players, because it's just not responsive. But Brawl, I played Fox, played Marth, played a little Meta Knight. I've been playing D recently when I like mess around with Brawl, because Vex, which is another Philadelphia legend.
Grab.
Yeah, he has like chain grabs on like a lot of the cast, and he's a really good character, but he is, gate kept by the most broken characters in the game, like Meta Knight, Ice Climbers, and Olimar. You have no shot against those characters pretty much ever.
Yeah.
Smash 4, Cloud is so damn broken and cool.
The fuck he is.
Yes. Cloud, even after he was nerfed pretty much in one of the last patches of the game, he was still topping tournaments. But on the later half of it, people were starting to get better at gimping Cloud and edge guarding him. So he was starting to go down in the tier list. But Cloud's reign in Smash 4 was so good that people wanted to not only ban double Cloud in doubles, where you couldn't have two Clouds on one team. They were saying no Cloud in doubles. The only time that's ever been purported and ever successfully gone through was Brawl and Meta Knight, and that was only for a month or so. The Smash community has been very, very adverse to banning characters almost ever.
In general, I think most fighting game communities are adverse to banning characters, except for the obvious examples, like the hitting characters. Yeah, like Gil and Third Strike. If you play on the home versions, you can unlock, because on the arcade version you can't unlock Gil. Gil and Third Strike's the final boss. He is obviously like designed to be a boss character. But other than very rare examples like that, like fighting game community in general doesn't like banning characters, I feel.
Yeah, it's definitely a big thing of it. But Cloud, very, very strong character. I've always liked him. And the thing that has always made me so upset about Smash 4, and I would have played it so much, the fucking buffering system. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It
gets worse. It gets worse every game.
Yeah,
like in Smash 4 it was there, but in
Ultimate, it's unplayable. It's so unplayable. I feel like I'm playing online when I'm offline. It's just like I just can't actually believe that like this is. I just can't believe it hasn't changed. Or what I would personally
not only has it not changed, it keeps going further in that direction. With Brawl, they introduced a buffer system, then it's in 4, and then in Ultimate, the buffer system is even larger. Like the buffer window is even larger in Ultimate.
Yeah,
right.
It's wild. And
it's
it would be nice if there was just a setting that you could turn off.
That's what I was going to say. Is like I feel like what's the difference of the person who can pilot the game, because obviously the buffering system is designed for two things. It's a fundamental balance addition to fast players and people who know how to play Smash not rolling over casuals. But that happens anyway. That literally happens no matter what you do.
Nothing about the buffering system is going to stop that.
The thing, and we'll kind of get a little bit more into this when we talk to Brawl, there were so many intentional things to stop, the the good players beating up on casuals in Brawl that were implemented, and it literally did not even matter, and it never matters. It's just like the experience of playing Smash. It's so much different than, like, I want to say traditional fighters, because traditional fighters, because of how much less control there is, and not to put a blanket statement on it, but variety in a way, I feel like casual players have a harder time getting in traditional fighters than Smash, even though Smash is a pretty, fleshed out in its own design of fighting game.
I also think a big reason casuals can get in, it's because it's Smash, right? It's easier for a casual to be like, I want to play this game once a week at my friend's house because, like, I can be Link.
I don't need to do a full circle into 2 buttons to do my special move. I just push side B.
Yeah.
So I want to interject right here. Did you guys know how Smash came to be in the first place?
Yeah, Sakurai was going. He wanted to make a fighting game. He was making this game. At first, it started off as like Dragon Warrior or something.
Yeah, Dragon Fighters.
He's making this game, but he wanted to make it simple. He wanted to make it a simpler game than like things like KOF. That's why there's like side B and stuff like that. And then I think he showed it to Iwata or a Miyamoto. He showed it to somebody.
Yeah,
and
it got rejected.
It got rejected, and then basically without permission, they made the game with Mario, with like Nintendo characters without permission. They're like, well, let's just see what happens. And I think it was Iwata and Sakurai. They just like made the game with the Nintendo characters without permission. And they're like, hey, look, guys, the game's done. Like, what do you think?
So I want to go back before that, so what I was actually talking about is how it really came to be. So that story, what you said is true, but it goes further back than that. So Sakurai was in an arcade, and he was playing like Street Fighter or something, let's say. I forget exactly which game it was, but let's just say Street Fighter. I'm pretty sure it was Street Fighter. And back then on the arcade game, his opponent is on the other side, so you can't even see who his opponent is. So he's playing a person in Street Fighter 2, like a human being, and he's destroying them. I mean, he's absolutely bodying them, right? So then after the match, he walks around to the other side to like see who his opponent was, and it was like a married couple. And they were like, yeah, we just came to the arcade just to like have fun, and we just wanted to see like, what this game was about. Like, we just wanted to have a fun time. And he felt so bad about destroying them like that it made him want to develop a fighting game. So essentially, he always felt bad about games where, one, there's a really, really high ceiling, and casuals can't just like sit down and play and have fun immediately. There's like a learning curve and all this stuff. Like, he wants a casual experience. And we already know this because, whenever they show Nintendo Direct stuff like that, there's items on their stages that have a lot of stage hazards and shit where things will eat you and you can fall off and you can walk off. So we know that he's a casual person in general, but the way like Smash actually started, like the beginning in his mind was him having a bad experience just bodying somebody in a fighting game at an arcade and realizing like, holy shit, these two people are never going to come back here again.
Right.
It's like you go to locals, you have your deck, and then you play against some fucking guy who like won a big tournament and he just destroys you 2-0. You don't even get a chance to do anything. You might get FTK depending on what format it is, so you don't get to play a single card. And you're like, damn, this is what this game actually is? I don't want to fucking play this game anymore. And you never go back to it. Like that's awful experience. I'm not saying that I would have ever done anything like that in 2010 in Frog FTK format, but I get it. Like, I get why he caters to casuals.
Yeah, and it's understandable, and it's even so ironic to that point where he incidentally created one of the most in-depth, like
high ceiling
fighting games of all time.
Yes, Melee is unintentionally the exact opposite of what Sakurai has ever intended. Like, it is literally one of the hardest games to play.
He's been going back from all that time ago to try to revert what he did.
I feel like his biggest sin is Melee. He's been trying to atone for it every single game.
Exactly. But like, and that's the thing where I think at some point deep down, like, he kind of realizes that, maybe his initial design of like making it completely core to the casuals doesn't always work, because even when you make a game like that, there's always going to be the better player. And I think he kind of sees that at some point, because Ultimate definitely has more of those vibes of like, this is like kind of like a traditional fighter format where like, even in his releases, he's like talking about combos. He's talking about like
Yeah, he's definitely started to cater to the competitive scene a bit more. I've noticed. Like, I don't know what has caused that shift, but Smash 4 was it had pretty competitive mechanics. Like, he removed tripping and
Right.
all of that stuff. Like, a lot of things were removed that were kept. If he wanted the game to stay casual, he would have kept tripping in like a random tripping.
Well, the main issue with that is that even casuals didn't like tripping, and that's because he tipped the needle so much because he felt he had to compensate so hard for the casual players to pretty much put competitive players at such a disadvantage that he actually overplayed his hand, and he created a thing that casual players didn't even like playing.
It's funny because tripping punishes you for moving too much. Like, literally every time you dash, there's a chance that you trip.
Yep.
So because the highly competitive players move a lot,
it's even worse than you think it is. And I don't know if you know this, but there's certain moves that actually increase your percentage chance to trip. Like, if you do certain moves, you trip more frequently.
So like your character throws out an attack,
you have an increased percentage chance after that.
Wow.
Yes, Meta Knight's down tilt, I believe, and if anyone's watching this, don't quote me on this. I know it's an absurd number. I'm pretty certain if you down tilt with Meta Knight, you have like an almost 46% increased chance of tripping.
Holy shit.
Yes, it's insane. That is why people walk in that game, because even when you do moves like tilt, smash attacks, aerials, you have an increased percentage chance to trip. So it's even worse than you think it is. It's not even random in that sense. It's random with additional odds added on top of it.
Yes. Yeah, so it's just all over the place. But yeah, it punishes people who move a lot, and he saw how people played in Melee. There's a lot of movement happening in Melee. Whereas casuals are just kind of like, I throw out a move here and there, I kind of fill you out, but the top Melee players are fucking all over the place. So it's just, that type of thing, it definitely ruined it for a lot of people. And then he's slowly atoning. He's atoning for Melee in one way, but he's also atoning for going too ham in Brawl, it seems like, right? Like, he went too hard in Brawl, and he unintentionally made the most competitive fighting game of all time almost with Melee. Like, there's other, I'm not going to get into it, but there's non-mainstream fighting games that are obviously more technical than Super Smash Bros. But they're not Super Smash Bros. They're just not big at all.
They are. I feel like the actual good and beautiful thing about Smash is that I think from all parts of the vector, from the beginning to what we're currently at right now, is that it does encapsulate a pretty decent balance of a casual experience to the higher echelon of competitive play.
Yep.
And that's what I always felt that like Sakurai was missing on that front, is that he thought, on the right-hand side was the competitive play, and then there was this small caveat of casual.
Yeah.
But it's very balanced. It's very stuck in the center, because most people who are competitive 100% started casual. I don't know many people who didn't start playing casually, when they were younger or playing with items.
I want to comment on that. So the whole thing, when Brawl came out, it caused like a schism in the community, and then there became like the Melee and the Brawl players or whatever. But there was a lot of people that on the one side defending Brawl were saying, this game is more balanced and is more balanced with the casual player, and it's more fun for casual players and all this other, and they were put that as a point in Brawl's favor. And my argument was always that this argument didn't exist before Brawl. When Melee was out, casual players still loved Melee. Like, Smash was still Smash. Like, everybody loved Melee. There wasn't really this casual competitive schism when Melee was out, just because everybody played it. Like, I, to this day, know people who you'll talk to that'll just be like, oh, dude, I was so good. Man, I played that Smash game on GameCube. I was the best at that, man. Like, I played it all the time. You're like, who'd you use? I used fucking Roy, man. Like, Roy's the best. Like, he'll light you on fire. Like, he's so good. Like, you can't beat me. You can't beat me with Roy, I promise.
Oh, I used Kirby. I down B, the rock move.
Yeah,
that's that's always
but like to this day, people still think that, right? So like the whole competitive, like I don't think there was ever this big divide in the community of competitive and casual for Smash. I think it was always very casual friendly, even with how absolutely absurd the ceiling became.
And that's actually a funny thing to say about like the divide, because this is actually a very well documented thing, is that when Brawl came out and Brawl like started becoming like the game, because just like any series of, like, let's say a competitive game like shooters or fighting games or anything like that, there's always that transition to the new game where the old game starts to die out. And Melee was actually in a depression at the time when Brawl came out. Several of the top players were quitting or maining Brawl or kept playing Melee. Melee was actually in a pretty low downswing.
Yeah, at that time, Melee's biggest tournaments were like 12 man.
Yep.
Oh,
it was it was really bad. Melee during that time, during 2008, 2009, 2010, it was a pretty dark era for Melee. The biggest thing for it is that with the Brawl players, a lot of the players came from Melee in a way, but a lot of the players were new because the legacy and stature that Melee had, it brought in a lot of new people. Like that Smash Dojo website, when I bring that up, that's not fluff. Like that was a thing. People literally went on their devices, and this is probably something that never happened before. Like game releases being published to a website where like daily updates on like new things. This was a very unique concept, and Nintendo really hit the nail on the head with it. There was people all over always looking, what's on Smash Dojo? What came out? Oh my God, Sonic is a character? That's insane.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I was on Smash Dojo and Smash
Yeah,
Boards.
when all this stuff was happening, the Melee players, there's a thing about Melee culture in general. There's a Melee hive mind that, I'm being totally honest, is very selfish to their own thing. They only want their way. They only want their game mechanic. And like,
is it the elitist mindset?
Yes,
it is. Yeah. I want to say on that note, something that have frustrated me is that I've had this argument with Melee players where like I said, I love it. It's my favorite Smash game. But there's a dark horse. There's like this dark horse game that exists called PM Project M. Stango, you mentioned it earlier. But I'm not going to go fully into PM, but it is a mod of Brawl to make Brawl play similar to Melee. It got really popular at a time, blah, blah, blah. My argument was, if PM was Brawl, if Brawl released and it was what PM is, it would be just as big as, like, it would have sold the same number of copies.
It would have killed Melee.
It would have still been Brawl. It would still had all the casual people, but it would have killed Melee because the Melee people would have transitioned over. In hindsight, 10 years later, you have Melee fans. I've had this argument with people who are like, no, Melee's the best. We would not have switched over to Brawl even if it played like PM because PM sucks. But what they're ignoring is that Melee was dead when Brawl came out. And if Brawl played like that, like, yes, it's not exactly the same as Melee, but PM is really, really good, and it's good enough and close enough to Melee. Everybody would have played it, and all the Melee players would have went over, and Melee would have died had Brawl played like PM. And it would have still been, Brawl would have still been as big as Brawl was.
It probably would have been bigger.
It would have just also legit killed Melee and would have pushed that competitive scene even harder in that direction. But there's Melee players today that are in the Melee cult. They're like, no, would never happen. Melee will never die. It's like, dude, I love Melee too, but you're fucking crazy.
Yeah. It's just the clear transition of if PM was the replacement game to Melee, as Brawl was supposed to be, because the main, and this is the other side of the fence for like the, not so much for the Melee hive mind, because I think in general for that kind of, encapsulation of like a smaller community in Melee, because nowadays some of the things are a lot more flexible. People are a lot more accepting of certain things, but it's roughly the biggest problem of the Melee community. They're not very accepting of any of the newer Smash titles, even 2%. I think the biggest thing of it is that the expectation of Brawl will play like Melee, it's not crazy to assume that when you're expecting the new Smash game to come out, because for all things 64 was is clunkier and a slower game, there was combos, there was movement.
Yeah,
like
Melee is the sequel. It's like one of the most beautiful sequels to a game, in my opinion. Like, it took everything 64 was and really put polish on it. Like, put a lot of polish on it. And so you would expect the next game to be like, okay, this is going to be an even more polished version of the last one.
Yeah, and it was just a complete
different game.
It was a complete 180, and that's where I think a lot of people felt, slighted in that way, where, at that time, Melee was dying, and they felt like their game that they loved for so many years was going to go away because the new game has come to replace it, and it's nothing like the game they like. Yeah, so their only choice... their only choice is to play a dead game that no one plays, or stop playing Smash in general because they don't enjoy the new game. And that's where Genesis 3, Genesis 2, I don't remember what tournament, Save Melee. I'm kind of messing up on the
you
whole
can never
history of
forget
things.
the infamous Revival of Melee. That tournament
Yes,
was great.
Revival of Melee is
Revival of Melee was like huge.
Yes, Revival Melee actually revived Melee. Because the thing about Revival of Melee, like that tournament, it was in New York. It was a small ass venue. Like 200 people flew from all over.
Yep, it was
Florida,
a celebration.
California.
People were doing like little mini documentaries during it and stuff. It was so. If you're interested, go like try to look up old Revival of Melee footage, ROM footage, and like try to find like the documentaries and the candid shots and stuff. It's really just fun to look into.
As a cautionary thing to that is that there is a lot of old school gamer language in that. So
there's
So if you're
different times.
So if you're a little sensitive to that, exactly, just know there is a lot of old school gamer language in a lot of the older
don't go
parts.
Canceling people, guys.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the biggest thing of like the Brawl to Melee thing. Like some of it has merit, a lot of it is an exacerbation of things. But I think Ultimate and Smash 4, will it ever be my cup of tea? Not with buffering. However, everything that it's been doing outside of that, I actually have pretty like a lot. Like, for example, the ledge in Melee, and to explain this to people, every stage, competitive stage, one that's legal that doesn't have fucking shit that eats you and spits you out, like Frazier was saying, every stage that you can play on for a consistent competitive result has a thing called the ledge, where if you float towards it, you grab it. And it's essentially like your first safety net of getting back on the stage after you've been knocked off. The Legend Melee and every Smash game, you get invincibility for a certain amount of frames or time. The thing about Melee is that there is no limitation to this invincibility. So you get it for a certain amount of time, but in Melee, you can grab the ledge again and get the same amount of invincibility. You can even do techniques from the ledge where you can be fully invincible with no gap. So it would be something where you jump off the ledge, you do a slide to grab the ledge again quickly, and you're fully invincible. Obviously, there are some things you can do, like steal the ledge while they're doing this. But the thing is, long story short, the ledge is broken in Melee.
Yes,
it's a very unbalanced part of the game. Smash 4 and Ultimate addressed this with ledge trumping and not getting invincibility after you've grabbed the ledge already before touching the ground.
That's the big one. If you don't touch main stage, if you don't touch if you don't touch main stage, if you grab ledge and you don't touch main stage again, you're just in the air and grab ledge again. You like you said, you don't get the invincibility. That is such a huge thing for.
There's another part to this too that people didn't find out about. There's another thing that people didn't find out until after a couple, months maybe. When you are at a higher percent and you try to get back on the stage and Ultimate, you actually lose some frames of invincibility, as in your character coming up off the ledge, like normal get up, all your options to get off the ledge, once you're at like, let's say 120, are actually slower. Like you lose frame advantage trying to recover after a certain percentage. And also, obviously, there's moves that you can no longer tech when your percentage is at, like you get to a certain point, it's like you can't tech this move now. So if you hit, again, and some people might feel one way or another about that, but it's just another change where you can't tech infinitely. Like you're at 200% dog die. Like they kind of put that in there too. And then it's like you're at 150. You're 150. If your character's crawling back from the edge at 150, they should be exasperated. Like they should be like, holy shit, I'm just trying to get back and this fucking keeps attacking me. Like it should be harder to recover the more your percent. Because if your percent is high, that means you kept losing neutral, especially in Ultimate. It's not like Melee in 64 where you get hit one time.
Racks up so fast.
You might go to you don't go to 90 after getting hit one time in Ultimate usually, unless you're playing against like Peach. But she's like the one character that legit puts you at 90 off of one combo. No one else can really do that. But yeah, if you're really high in Ultimate in percent, then when you try to recover, like your frame advantage, it goes away.
Right.
Very interesting.
And that's a good thing as far as like all the nerf changes around the ledge, because the thing about Melee is where some of the balance mechanic of how broken the ledge, and I don't want to understate this, the ledge is absolutely disgustingly broken in Melee. It is very abusable, and a lot of the meta of the game is being good at the ledge because of how strong of a position it is. It's stronger than being in the center of the stage in in some scenarios because you can immensely attack from it with really strong moves.
So I never even knew this. That the ledge, I knew the ledge was powerful in Melee because you have invincibility infinitely. I didn't know that it was like that strong as you're explaining it.
Yeah, because a lot of the thing about, like, for example, on Battlefield, which is like a stage that I think almost everyone knows in Smash if you played it, Fox on Battlefield in Melee, he can do his strongest kill move of up smashed pretty much to a quarter near the center of the stage. So he can be past almost the Battlefield side platform. He can be on the other side of it towards the center, invincibly up smashing. That's how much invincibility he can get. It's kind of insane. But the thing that balances the ledge mechanics in Melee is the technicality of it. The thing about air dodging in Melee, you can't do anything if you air dodge off stage and don't land on anything. So if you mess up your ledge maneuver just by a small coordinate of an angle, like pixels, you can air dodge off the stage and kill yourself. And also, a lot of characters in Melee that play near the ledge, except for like a couple, are fast fallers. They plummet when they're, in the air. So like you can't really take your time being invincible on the ledge. You have to be quick because of how fast your character is. So you can't do the same thing of like Smash 4 and Ultimate, where a lot of characters are kind of floaty and slow in the air a lot of the time. Yeah. If those games had Melee ledge mechanics, the ledge would be the most broken thing in Smash of all time, bar none. Because imagine just fucking Sephiroth already. Sephiroth fucking clings to the wall. He throws projectiles. He's fucking snapping his fingers at you.
Literally stab his sword into the side of the stage. So he has like so many
stall options when it comes to recovering. Yeah, he just has so much stall, and it's pretty strong. Like even though that you don't get invincibility back, his up B is so freaking ginormous and active and hard to punish and with punish. Yeah. Imagine if you just had invincibility every time you grab the ledge. Yeah, Sephiroth would be so fucking bad. OP as shit.
It would be so bad. Oh my god. That would be so. I'm just thinking about it now because some of the scary shit that I do see is the number 2 player in the world, Tweak. He will do all kinds of ledge mix-ups where he grabs the stage several times with Sephiroth and doesn't get punished. But it's because it's hard to punish Sephiroth already with him losing invincibility, re-grabbing the ledge. It's that hard to punish him. So if he had invincibility, I think he would be one of the characters that could play on the ledge infinitely.
Yes, he could literally just play the game off stage.
The ledge. Yes, he would be able to run back after he takes a stock and camp you at the ledge, and his long ass sword, his long ass projectiles, his ridiculous up B, and the ability to stab his sword into the side of the stage, not even grab the ledge, but stab it into the side of the stage and pause and wait, would make him literally invincible on the edge. Like there'll be nothing you can do.
Right. So that's the merit of like the newer games where like I give credence to them where they do have positive changes and everything.
Yeah,
like that.
It can't all be bad, right? Like no matter how much you like, filthy casuals or elitist, there's a middle ground, and I hope one day that we really do get to just a point where we get like the perfect Smash game for everyone, like where it does. It's honestly that would do a lot of it. That would do so much of it. Like Ultimate is really fast. It's really combo heavy now. Like combos really do happen. You can get combo from 0 to 50 consistently. Most characters can do that. Not even just the best ones, but just like most characters, if they get a certain setup, a certain grab or a down tilt or whatever, they can combo you to like 50. And it requires a bit of reading DI and things like that, but it's interactive. But then you also have the thing where casuals can pick up the game and there's 75 characters for them to play. And they'll have the time of their lives. Like I play casually with people where we play, it's 4 of us, like me and a group of friends, we play 4 people, at a time free for all, and we have a lot of fun. It's not competitive in any real way, like a real competitive setting for Smash, but it's really fucking fun. And all of us are kind of suck. So we're all on the same level for the most part. We all just pick who we like. They don't really go off a tier list. It's like none of my friends are like tier whores like I am that I play with. So they're just like, oh yeah, I just like my one friend, he really likes Ike. And Ike is not top tier by any means. Like he's exploitable recovery, pretty slow, not the best frame data, but he loves playing Ike, and he's pretty damn good with Ike for our group. And right. I just think that's cool that on a casual setting we can have a lot of fun. But then also if it's about competitive, we're like, all right, let's do 1v1s now. It can get real competitive, real fast.
And that's the funny thing about that you mentioned with Ike, because Ike, funnily enough, in the very beginning of Ultimate, he was
Oh, I know.
played by a lot
MKLeo
of
won.
MK
Leo
Leo
won the
won. I
tournament.
don't know what tournament, but a good tournament with Ike.
Yeah.
And it's just funny how
Might have
that
been
dynamic
Genesis.
changes.
Might have been one of the Genesis. Yeah.
It's just funny how that changes. Like Ike is considered like an okay-ish character. Like definitely.
Yep.
If I don't know the tier list, I'm going to be entirely honest. There's so many characters, and
He's not played at all anymore.
Right. He's not played at all. So
Which
that
is-
leads me to believe he's just like low tier. He's just not good.
Yep. He's probably like, I don't know if there's such thing as like mid tier in Ultimate, but like, because most people just say top tier, high tier, and then bottom tier usually.
Yep.
But I would say Ike is probably if there is a mid tier, Ike is probably in the mid tier. Like, I think he's better than the worst of the worst, but I think he is nowhere near the upper echelon. Because I mean, the game is so many characters, right? There's probably 80 of them.
Speaking of,
Right.
And
tier list, I just wanted to ask, bro. I felt like this was a good time to ask, Nick. Where's Falco in the Melee tier list in your opinion?
Oh man, that's hard to say.
Is he the number 2 character in the game?
No, definitely not.
I've had a war with people for years that tell me that Falco's the second best character in the game, and I think
I think nowadays no one would argue. No one would argue that.
I just want my credit. I want people to say. I want people to call me and say, Kenny, you were right. We were wrong. We're fucking crazy for thinking Falco was the second best character in the game. What were we thinking?
Yeah.
What do you think? Just real quick, I don't want to go through a whole tier list. What do you think the top 3? My top 3 Melee, I think, would be Fox, Marth, Puff. I think are the top 3 characters in the game.
Yeah, so it's definitely Fox, Marth for sure, 1 and 2. When I'm thinking about it between Puff and Falco, I think the main difference of me when I look at it is that you really have to determine that third spot is how well do they do against Fox and Marth, because all the other characters beneath them, they pretty much have a decent matchup or advantage on. But I think where the biggest distinction of that changes is Falco doesn't lose the Falcon. Puff definitely loses the Falcon. And Puff also does bad against Marth and Fox. Falco does decent against Marth and does okay against Fox. I think his match.
You think Puff's matchup is bad versus Marth and Fox?
Fox is a little worse. I think Fox is a little bit better because the punish game is so explosive for just like rest in general and gimping. But I think Marth's neutral and punish game has gotten so much better over the years. With Zane alone, it makes the matchup so grindy, and Puff is not built for grind.
I agree with that.
Interesting.
Yeah,
so you're saying that the meta is evolving. The meta is evolving in Melee where Marth is starting to have like a pretty decent matchup against Puff, is what you're saying?
It all started with PPU against Hungrybox at Apex, where he did take a set off of him with pivot tippers. And, to explain once again, in Smash, you have 2-3 states of like running or dashing. Your initial dash, which you can, in Melee, you can really only do certain actions like attack, jump, or go the other way, like dash back around. Then you have run, which is a laggier state. It pretty much you're set on going that direction. You have to do a pretty specific thing to change your direction of like going backwards again. When you're doing a dash dance, which is just pretty much doing your initial dash left and right quickly, there is an animation called pivot in between there, where the character literally stands upright and turns around. During that animation, you can do almost anything, like a smash attack. So initially, when Marth Puff was being played throughout the years and everything like that, a lot of people thought Marth did really bad against Puff because how does Marth kill Puff? He can't combo in the F smash. Puff's really floaty. You also can't really gimp Puff with Marth because she has the best recovery in the game because she literally just jumps and makes it back to the stage. She's not really exploitable at the ledge because of this. A lot of those things changed with PPU, where he pretty much showed the world like, hey, if you do get a grab on Puff and you do a initial dash, pivot, forward smash, the spacing is honestly so perfect that you land the tipper of his sword, which is the stronger part of his move. And you can kill Puff at similar percentages that Fox kills Puff, which is at like 60-65%. That was initially with it. And that didn't even really change the Marth versus Puff metagame because Hungrybox was just so above all the Marth players at the time that even with that, innovation, it still wasn't come through. But Zane, pretty much the second best player, first best player, it kind of changes between him and Mango right now as far as tournament results. He has pushed Marth's punish game and neutral against Puff to such an echelon that Hungrybox always has to struggle against Zane, where traditionally Hungrybox has always swept any Marth he's ever played.
Yeah.
And that's just because the punish game is now on an equal footing, where Puff could get Marth easily. He could kill Marth at like 10% with rest. He had a really good neutral because of his air drift and everything like that. Zane has closed that gap where Hungrybox is literally shitting himself when he's at 60%, like how he would be if he was against Fox, because he dies so early.
This is what's so beautiful about Melee. The game's been out for over 20 years, and the meta and what is happening in competitive play is still evolving and still making advancements. It's one of the... I'm not going to get all into it now, but it's one of the things that makes me a little reluctant on patches and different things in games, because it truly is... The idea of, like, just get good, it really is a real thing. Like, there are so many advancements to be made in the game that a lot of games you don't get the chance to see those advancements because they don't get played 20 years later.
Yeah, and I will say this because I know a lot of people are going to take that to the extreme, what you just said. So we're not completely against patching things, right? It's more so patching shouldn't always be let's nerf the whole fucking roster of top characters. It should be let's nerf whatever is absolutely egregious and needs to be nerfed. For example,
Smash 4.
Nope. Yep. Smash 4 Diddy is outrageous. Like
Pre-nerf.
That character pre-nerf was down throw up air. No character could do anything about it. And you could do it, you could spam it, and there was nothing that anyone could do. Like, it was ridiculous. Also, Bayonetta, 0 to death. That's not a Smash thing, for real. Like, you shouldn't be able to, without any kind of
Smash
DI,
4,
any
Smash 4 specifically, like, that's not a, like...
No character could literally even closely emulate that same power of a single opening being death. Because that was the balanced mechanic of Smash 4, of spamming air dodges, how easy it is to grab the ledge and everything like that. The defensive play was really amped up, but Bayonetta said, fuck all that, I hit you at 10, you're dead. Goodbye, next stock.
And Cloud pre-nerf with finishing touch, obviously, again, or whatever it was called. I think it's
Cross Slash. Cross Slash was the biggest offender.
Yeah.
Yep. So his limit, just Cloud with infinite limit, because he didn't have to use it in that game. Like, he could just keep it eternally, and unlike Ultimate where they made it 15 seconds. Those things, I agree with all of those things. As far as like patching things, those are egregious things. They make the game unfun if you're not playing that character. Basically, like they're Meta Knight-esque level of ignorance. So patching that type of thing, sure. But then patching like, oh, this character's just performing well, let's just bring them down. It's kind of like, damn, like you didn't give the community a chance to adapt, and adapting can take a year.
To clarify my point as well, I'm not against patching, like he said, but the big thing I hate is the cultural mind state of a lot of people in many games where, oh, that's broken, this character's broken, that's not fair, I'm just going to wait for the patch. So people say, like, people don't practice, or people won't try to get better, or won't try to advance the game state, or won't try to, overcome a hardship in the game, because they're like, I'm just going to wait for that to get patched. That'll get patched. That's not fair. It'll get patched. Instead of trying to because maybe it's not that broken. Like, maybe it doesn't need to be patched. Like, you might be able to overcome this game state. But we've become such a patching culture in games where people are like, no, I'm just going to wait for it to get patched. Anyway, that's a side note.
Say that. I'm just going to wait for it to get patched.
It's just like the evolution of that change is literally like when everyone always played Melee for the first time and your friend picked Marth and he was just spamming F Smash versus you, and you're just like, that's so broken, that move's so big and it's killing me, and I can't punish it because it's so long and big. And then you realize I can shield. Marth's F Smash is no longer broken. That is if you look at the first Melee tier list, Jigglypuff is like mid-tier or low tier. Yeah, she's horrible. She is considered one of the worst characters because
nothing changed. Like, Puff didn't get buffs. Like, nothing changed.
Yeah.
But now she's one of the best characters in the game. Anyway, that was a side tangent.
But to summarize, that's why I think Falco above Puff, because I think overall her matchup spread does worse against the characters above her. And she actually has some glaring issues below her as well. I would put Falco fourth, but I'm right there. I would go Fox, Marth, Puff, Falco. Those would be my top four. So same top four, but just slightly different order. Right.
Okay. All right. Well, this wraps up the episode 12 of the IMNerd Podcast. We are actually going to continue this into a part 2. We're going to bring Stango back as a guest and have him talk more about Smash, because we realized that with adding a third person, we can talk for 4 hours easily.
Yeah, our podcast
So
is
we're
already
gonna
2
continue
hours
this-
with just me and Frazier.
Yeah, so we're going to continue this at a later date. But for now, we're going to say peace out and shout out to our patrons. We actually have a long list of patrons now. So give me a second while I get the list out, because before
Hold on,
I used to just be able to just
where's my bell or my cash register noise? That's really dope though, because honestly, while you're kind of gathering that list of patrons,
yeah.
I think this podcast is, and I said this initially on the very first episode, because I've known both of these people for so long. I've known these people since I was a child, like actually
Yep.
a child. So
Yep.
to see this, and the very first time I saw this podcast, I was just like, this is literally Kenny's house, his mom's kitchen table, us just talking at the table. This is literally
Yep,
how
that's
I
what we used to
envision.
do anyway.
Yes. So this is like one of the best podcasts I've listened to, because it's very organic, and it may be a little biased just because I have that personal attachment to it, where I kind of can tell the genuineness of like the conversations and how they kind
Yeah.
of flow. But I'm really glad that everyone's been digging this podcast, because I want to see the utmost success for it, because I think it's actually
Even
tremendously great content.
even aside from your personal bias, though, I remember you messaged me when you listened to the first episode, and you're like, "Hey, I'm going to be honest. I listened to it to support it, but I fully expected it to suck." You
Yeah,
were
I
being
didn't
straight
think
up.
it was going to be good.
You were like,
I
I
didn't,
think-
I'm going to be so.
Yeah, you were like,
straight up.
when before I listened, I expected this to suck, but then I listened and I was like, "Oh shit, this is really good and really organic." So thank you for
Yep.
all of that.
Well, that being said, we appreciate everyone who does support the podcast. I've also heard that exact same thing where one of my friends said the same. He's like, I just wanted to listen to it to support it, and then I found myself actually listening to it and enjoying it. So that's dope. But anyway, shout out to our patrons. So we have Xavier, Garen, Quest, Nathaniel, Austin, and Connie. All of these are patrons from our Patreon. Thank you guys for supporting us so much. We really appreciate you guys. It's awesome that we're actually able to continue doing this and have people, I get a lot of messages on a daily basis at this point, honestly telling us how much they love the podcast and suggestions for episodes that we're all going to get to eventually. We really appreciate all of it, guys. So if you're rocking with us still, the IMNerd, check out our YouTube channel, check out our Patreon, follow us on, subscribe to us and follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Google, everywhere that you will listen to podcasts. We're going to keep doing this 2 episodes a week, every Monday and Thursday.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Do we have any closing lines? Yes, that's pretty much it.
Quick spoiler preview of part 2, and if you are on the Patreon, you can see the video of this. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl.
Yes, we should talk about that.
I'm 100.
Yes.
During part 2, we will 100% talk about Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. That's coming out soon. But part 2 of the Smash is going to be happening.
Part 2, we should honestly talk about like a lot of this. Like we kind of glossed over PM, like kind of as a side piece, but it actually is a very storied history.
There's
in Smash
tons of
in general.
meaty conversations I think we could hit on, and I'd love to. There's more personal stuff I'd love to know we could hit on for you and for your person, because I don't know if we got everything out of your personal Melee career journey, and there's a lot of things we can still bite into. So I'm really excited for doing a part 2.
All right. Well, let's end it here.
Happy feet. One more combo. That ain't Falcon. That ain't Falcon. Get your ass whooped!